Did you see the part where he actually threw to break? He kept calling him Ron. Ron, hey, Sean and Ron. All right, well, we'll discuss this when we get back. And he took total control of it. It was crazy. I've never seen that before. You don't let your guest throw to breaks for commercials.
Bill and Glen Ellen.
Yeah, I just want to say that Ron DeSantis, you could see it last night in the debate. He is everything that the Trump supporters want Trump to be, but Trump can't be because of all of his flaws. I mean, Ron and his wife would be the president and first lady this country needs and we deserve, and we really need to make sure that we get there. You know, we have to – DeSantis is the man we need, and, you know, it's just obvious, and I just hope Trump supporters can see that before it's too late, and it may be too late already.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the call, Bill. There's the thing about DeSantis, though, just in terms of watching the mannerisms. I don't know exactly what it is. He feels a little uncomfortable, and I don't know if it's because he's trying to control getting angry with having to deal with all of the lies and name calling that he was subjected to last night, but there's just a lack of ease with him that I don't know. I don't know what that is. It'd be interesting to have a conversation with him about that because, he's a confident guy. He speaks very matter of fact. I mean, it's not flashy, but it's substantive and it's on point and it's evidence-based, which is why I've been a big fan since he was elected in Florida. And I go back to Congress, actually, but certainly since he was elevated into national attention as governor. But there's just something, at least in this environment, where he feels a bit uneasy to me. I don't know why that is.
Completely agree. He had weird face smiles and some twitches, and he just doesn't feel comfortable in his own skin up there watching him. I kind of wanted, when they extended it, I thought, oh, can you just get him off stage? Just to give him a break. But he did hit back on something that I really hold to my heart, which is this COVID-19 and the lockdowns on our children and how, rules for thee but not for me. But listen to Newsom spew some more lies.
False. You had quarantines. You had checkpoints all over the state of Florida. By the way, I didn't say that. Donald Trump laid you out on this, dead to right. You did that. True. You followed science. You followed Fauci, Ron.
That's not false.
He followed science. He followed.
You had more kids locked out of school for a longer period of time in California than anywhere else in the country. It was the working class kids. It was the middle income kids. His kids were in private school. They were in class in person.
Slow down. I want everyone to be heard. If I can ask you, I really do.
Yeah, but that's a good example of what I was saying before. So, again, the stones of one of the nation's most enthusiastic lockdowners, that would be Gavin Newsom, referring to DeSantis as a lockdown governor. This is what he did all night. What California actually is and what I actually did, I'm going to blame you and suggest that you did it. As I tweeted out last night, watching it, it would be like Rashida Tlaib calling Donald Trump an anti-Semite. Gavin Newsom calling Ron DeSantis a lockdown governor. But that's what you got last night, which is why it was frustrating to watch.
California had checkpoints in lockdown.
We don't even need to discuss California. Everyone knows, including all 30 million California residents, what California was during COVID, and everybody knows what Florida was. But it doesn't matter.
Back after 4 weeks after CPS went back to school.
It doesn't. But that's the whole point. The point is the substance doesn't matter. And anybody watching that debate and saying Gavin Newsom really scored some points, oh, Gavin Newsom gave it to DeSantis, or Gavin Newsom's done a great job in California, then you're unreachable. It is not worthy of a conversation. Just as, frankly, I don't know how worthy it was to have for DeSantis to waste his time with Gavin Newsom, other than to get him some standalone press. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Amy and Dan. Thanks for getting to me, and always great talking to you. Yes, I suffered through the debate, and one thing you need to discuss is all the questions that Newsom failed to answer.
Well,
the one that stood out to me.
Everyone.
Yeah, the one that stood out to me was the abortion issue. When he was asked about late term, and Newsom refused to answer it, and turn the question back on DeSantis with his 6-week ban. But there were so many questions that Newsom failed to answer, and then fact-checking. We're up to now 14 million jobs that Biden created. What a great job creator Biden is. And
thanks for the call, Bob. Yeah, the other thing I liked about DeSantis, though, because I knew what I was going to get from Newsom. I mean, if everybody's watching for 5 seconds, who characterized COVID, just sticking on COVID for a second, as an opportunity to transform the economy.
Oh, that's right.
And by the way, he's been pursuing that transformation clearly with his 2035 ban date for gas-powered vehicles. But one other thing that was sort of fun with DeSantis, I kind of liked it, just to do something a little bit different to mix it up, was he used a couple of props.
Oh, yeah.
And the poop
That's my
map
Christmas
was
card this year. The poop map. Yeah.
The poop map was a fun one.
This is a map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco. And you see how almost the whole thing is covered, because that is what has happened in one of the previous greatest cities this country's ever had. Human feces is now a fact of life, except when a communist dictator comes to town. Then they cleaned up the streets. They lined the streets with Chinese flags. They didn't put American flags there. They cleaned everything up. So they're willing to do it for a communist dictator, but they're not willing to do it for their own people.
That was a good moment.
That was awesome.
And by the way,
changed my mind. Yes.
Human feces is up on the streets of San Francisco's up 50% under Gavin Newsom, and it's down 25% in Florida. No, I'm just making that up, but I mean, it's just everything is up in California that shouldn't be, and down in California that shouldn't be, and the reverse is true in Florida, and that was sort of the running debate last night, even as DeSantis tried to expand it out to, be more national and focused, given his current national ambitions.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 5:38, some sticker shock in unincorporated Rich Township, South Suburban Cook County, over property tax assessments. Gee, who would have told you this was coming? Only us for the past decade, and me a couple of decades. That's at 5:38.
And a group of black activists want to meet with Trump, and they say the DNC is not going to be peaceful. We'll explain, but now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Rain showers and 42 degrees at 5:32. Israel and Hamas have ended their 7-day truce.
Israeli fighter jets pounding the Gaza Strip. It comes as the fragile temporary truce between Israel and Hamas is now over. They had tried to extend the peace by at least 2 more days. Those talks are reportedly still underway, but right now there's no word if there's a chance for a new agreement. The Israeli military restarted its war on Hamas shortly after they intercepted a rocket launched from Gaza. Israel is also dropping leaflets urging Palestinians to leave parts of southern Gaza. The move is signaling a widening offensive.
Parental rights came up during the debate between California Governor Gavin Newsom and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. On Fox News, DeSantis raised up a book he claimed was pornography.
So this is a book that's in some of the schools in California. Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Gender Queer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air. This is pornography. It's cartoons. It's aimed at children.
Democrat Governor Newsom claimed Florida and other states were using that book as a cultural sword. Congress debating whether to expel New York Republican George Santos. The House is expected to vote on it today, making it the 3rd time this year the House has considered ousting Santos, who yesterday spent time blasting the Ethics Committee report.
There we go. They go ahead and release this report littered in hyperbole, littered in opinion that would have no decent cop would bring this to a prosecutor or a DA and say, here's our report, go ahead and charge him.
This comes after a House Ethics Committee found evidence Santos violated federal campaign law, misusing campaign funds. Prosecutors continue to play secretly recorded tapes during the federal trial against former longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. Yesterday, Burke was heard finally by jurors discussing landing the tuna.
Got some good news. I talked to Skydell today.
So did we land the tuna?
The tuna comment reference to tax and other business Burke was trying to get from Skydell, developers of the massive old post office complex. Also in court before testimony yesterday, the judge in the case rejected the defense request for a mistrial. Chicago sports. Bulls snap a lengthy losing streak following a 120-113 win over the Bucks. Blackhawks never led in a 5-1 loss to the Red Wings. Northwestern's Wildcats will try to topple the top-ranked team in college basketball tonight when they host Purdue at Welsh Ryan. The news, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privilege, and you can join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk sees another side of the latest polls.
Voters in 5 battleground states favor Trump over Biden. Before I go any further, it's very clear. This here in the New York Times, this is a hit on Biden more than a benefit to Trump. I partially believe this poll, but this here is yet another example of the regime, the administrative state, trying to remove Joe Biden.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here. And if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway. And this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Have you saved enough? What are you going to do with Social Security? What will your taxes look like in retirement? Scott Tucker believes retirement planning should be easy, and you should be able to get all the information you need in one place. That's why Scott created the Retirement Decoded Toolkit, a comprehensive resource for your retirement. In it, you'll find a copy of his latest book, Escape Illinois: Should I Stay or Should I Go? This book will provide insight on taxes, Social Security, income, and more. To get your free Retirement Decoded Toolkit, text KIT, K-I-T, to 847-474-3888, or go to retirementdecoded.com. Now, in addition to the book, you'll also receive resources on retirement's most common concerns. Get your Retirement Decoded Toolkit from Scott Tucker right now by texting KIT to 847-474-3888, or go to retirementdecoded.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. A registered investment advisor, this is a paid placement.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
The holiday season is right around the corner. Give the gift that's hard to wrap, but easy to give. Give them a Steel. Visit your local Steel dealer or go to steelusa.com/gift guide.
5:39, quick update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Kennedy inbound, accident, right shoulder inbound at Pulaski. 30 minutes in climbing from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Same story on the Stevenson climbing travel times, 35 minutes already from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Bishop Ford, an accident. Now 2 right lanes are blocked. A semi and 2 cars tangled inbound between the Bovian Woods, that's Doty Avenue, and the Stony Island feeder. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast a cooler day ahead, rain showers throughout the morning. Far northwest suburbs could see a lot of wet and heavy snow in the day. We'll have a high of 41, rain and 38 overnight. Currently 42 and rain at O'Hare, 45 and rain at Midway, and 40 and rain in Aurora. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas Coffee, a family tradition since 1897. Online at papanicholas.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Remember all those years we talked about property taxes in Chicagoland?
Oh, yeah.
Chicago
Years.
Metro. All those stories, all those years. Geez, I mean, I ran a multi-million-dollar retail ad campaign in the 2018 election cycle on the topic to try to engender a pulse in the Republican Party, and by extension, the Illinois electorate. Failed. And so the liquidation of people's homes continues. Of course it would. How else could it go? And the residents who are in the crosshairs are always surprised. So ABC 7, the I-Team, is on the story about 2 decades late.
I know. It's just like Black Club Chicago finally realized there's only 33 kids in this high school on the west side. Oh, really? You're just waking up to that? Wow.
Yeah. And then the response is, now that you have confronted the truth, what are you going to do about it? Cry?
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, that's basically it. Somebody should do something. Well, the somebodies you elected are the ones who brought you to this point, so you think they're going to be the problem solvers? But you go ahead and stick with the liquidators. Yeah, I thought you cared about your home too, but we tried and we tried. And now the wolf's at your door.
Yep, and property taxes are due today.
Unincorporated Rich Township, the unincorporated Rich Township portion of Tinley Park that is in Cook County. Some sticker shock for residents there.
The system is broken.
Huge assessment hikes in Tinley Park.
Well, the assessment doubled.
These residents tell the I-Team their assessments doubled or tripled. Lisa Markowitz is facing a jump of 210%.
And I was hysterical. I was like, are you kidding me? Are we going to lose our house? And he said, we might. And I said, what do we do? How do we stop this? We worked hard to get here.
I'm leaving. I'm gone. I'm going to Indiana.
Luis Markosovich's assessment went up 41%. Chuck Burke's went up 225%.
I think there was a big mistake, and they must have been blind when they tried to assess my house.
Dolores Morris doesn't think she can stay in her home after her assessment went up 45%.
Not at my age.
The assessment is up 216% for Roy Barseth.
Where am I going to move? You know, I've been in this home for 28 years, and you know, what am I going to do?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text lines. Usually stories from the front connote war stories. The stories for the front in Illinois are about property taxes and the liquidation of people's homes. So please share yours, or also this. I mean, I put a lot of the blame on this on the Republican Party, which can't bring itself around to say anything important on any of these issues. And today, it doesn't even exist. I mean, the migrant thing is going on, violent crime, this property tax issue, the Chi-Com electric battery plant in Mantena. I mean, there's just no comment and no particular interest in any issue that relates to people's quality of life. And the reason the Republican Party is a legal fiction in Illinois is because it failed to stand up for people like those middle-income families in unincorporated Rich Township. It failed to continue to be a party of the suburbs. It ceded the suburbs to cultural Marxists, which was the gateway to turn over the whole state to the Democrat Party, and that continues. And so nothing will change, and the liquidators will continue liquidating until and unless that dynamic changes. And I don't see any sense that there's any interest in the electorate, or certainly the handful of elected Republicans in Illinois. Do you?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636, type in DA, then a quick comment. I'm just watching the story. My heart breaks for all of them. I mean, especially there's elderly black females who are like, I can't afford this. I don't know what to do. And the one lady that said she's going to move to Indy.
It turns out the confiscatory property taxes, it turns out that the realization that you don't own your home, it's just collateral for somebody else's public sector pension, like your local teachers. It turns out that is colorblind. How about that? You know who gets hammered the hardest? South suburban, majority black communities. The highest property tax as a percentage of home value in Cook County is Fort Heights, the poorest community, which is 99% black. And the hue and cry coming from all those self-styled black leaders, from all the white leftists, the awfuls in Hinsdale and River Forest that whose life work is to uplift. It's not. It's to make them mascots and patronize them because they're ghastly humans and racist to boot. But this is what they say. Where is that conversation? Who's covering that story? No one. Except us, and we've been doing it for 20. And I've been doing it for 20 years, and we've been doing it for 10. Me and Amy together.
Yeah, and that's true, and people are finally waking up to it. But I don't want, when she said, that one lady, when she said, "Well, I need to move to Indiana," I cringed because don't bring your ideologies with you. Don't believe, you know.
Oh, I don't know that she's bringing it. I think.
Do you think this is going to wake them up?
I think there's people that are caught in the crosshairs. Maybe they didn't do as much as they should. But I don't think that doesn't strike me that a lot of those families in unincorporated Rich and Tinley Park are, part of the political ruling class machinery. They're just caught in the crosshairs. I mean, these are the fixed income and middle income families that the Republican Party is supposed to represent. Do they? I don't think they do. And I'm supposed to be a Republican.
They hung them out to dry.
Yeah, because they're cowards. The Republican Party has been full to its neck of poltroons for the last 30 years on policy and politics and everything else. I mean, the big Republican story that I've seen, I don't know, in the last month at least, the pea-hat wearing, Black Lives Matter supporting, gun banning eunuch named Jim Durkin isn't going to run for Cook County State's attorney because it's going to be too difficult with Trump on the ballot. It's too bad, because I would have loved to cover Jim Durkin's ill-fated candidacy for Cook County State's attorney. And especially in the news, because the other big story in the news just this week, former State Representative Nick Sauer, who was one of Jim Durkin's top lieutenants and another bright rising star in the Republican Party. You know, Nick Sauer from Lake County, who just got a 90-day sentence for his revenge porn. It took 5 years to adjudicate that case, which is a commentary on the just joke that is the criminal justice system in Illinois. This guy's a sexual predator.
I know. He got the Hunter Biden treatment, 5 years.
He got five. Oh, 5 years, yeah.
Right, to get it
to get 90
adjudicated.
days.
Right, to
Yeah.
get 90 days.
Those are the big Republican stories. Who wants to sign up for that? I know. Who's ready to get out your checkbooks? It's exciting, isn't it? Meanwhile, you have elderly residents in Rich Township crying that the local schools and the state government, because that's who's doing it, are going to take away their houses. I mean, are you kidding?
Text
Stories.
messages. Dan and Amy, don't bring Illinois politics to our neighboring state of Indiana when you move.
Stories. I mean, this is we've told these stories before, but it's been going on so long, I'm sure people have forgotten. February of 2017, we brought you this story. 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago. This is Lake County. But the border counties are the most fun, like Cook to Indiana, Lake to Wisconsin. Cross Lake is 89 acres in site, straddles the Illinois-Wisconsin border. Its western shore spans two adjacent communities, Antioch, Illinois, and Trevor, Wisconsin, where a continuous development of modest lakefront homes makes the state line essentially indistinguishable. So there are homes on Cross Lake that both are located in Illinois and Wisconsin.
Okay.
In Trevor, Wisconsin, a 1,368 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath house sold in 2015 for $255,000. 7 docks or a 3-minute walk south across the state line, a 2,400 square foot, 3-bedroom, 3-bath home in Antioch sold for $225,000. So almost twice as big, with another bedroom and another bath, and it sold for $25,000 less than the home in Trevor, Wisconsin. By the way, Wisconsin, not a low-tax state and not a low property tax state, but the Wisconsin home has a property tax bill at $3,200 a year, and the Antioch home, $6,200.
Oh, well, there you go. That's
there
a
you go.
no-brainer. You could build another bathroom or a bedroom.
And that doesn't even contemplate the negative multiplier effect of paying that percentage of your home value year over year in property taxes. And what do you think has happened to that property tax bill in the subsequent 6 years? And where do you think that's going with, again, the same dynamic in Lake County as in every other Collar County, as in every suburban community in Cook County? A lot more tears coming from the unsuspecting or the willfully blind. Joe in Naperville.
And to put the icing on the cake, Dan and Amy, these people need to realize is all that money is going to pay for illegal immigrants to be here and give them everything for free. Boy, how is that for a knife in the back?
Thanks for the call, Joe. Matt, Mount Greenwood.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Yeah, this one is close to home. My parents built a house out in Frankfurt, nice ranch home, 2003. They sold it 7 years later due to taxes. It was a nice house for two people. They're both, at the time, 70 years old. Tax bill was just hovering just over $11,000 when my dad said enough's enough. They ended up, it was a tough sell because of the economy at the time. They ended up selling it, ironically, to a just retired high school teacher in the south suburbs whose first year pension was $125,000. I told him, this guy said, you are the cause of this problem. You and your commie teachers union. The guy just smiled at me. They in turn moved into a condominium in Tinley Park. My mom's passed about 8 years ago. My dad, an 83-year-old man with dementia, now has a $6,200 tax bill on a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo in Tinley Park. So, no, he was smart enough not to. He put enough down. He kept the mortgage. He had the money to do it, and he kept his cash liquid. He just said, if I lose it, I'm not going to lose much. So he was smart enough to do that.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Matt.
Text message, Dan and Amy, my father lives in a condo in Harwood Heights. His taxes went up $1,300, and same with his assessments. If you're on a fixed income, $1,300, that's a lot of money. Where are you going to get that from?
A tweet, how about a 5,500 square foot house built in 2001? 6 baths, 4 fireplaces, 2 kitchens, huge basement, 3-car garage, half an acre lot. It's in Midlothian. 265 grand.
What?
The owners abandoned it 6 years ago. The taxes? $27,500. $27,500 on a home that's market value. They're hoping is 265 grand.
Yeah, I'll pass. Thanks.
Oak Park. This is just happened. This sale. A home that, if you had property taxes like Indiana, where they're hard capped at 1%, 1% of value, would probably be $3 million. Sold for this. I know this story because it's a friend. Sold for 1.3. Just trying to get out from underneath. He's no longer an Illinois resident. That's a familiar story. Just needed it. He's been trying to get rid of the property, but he's forever fighting his property tax bill. And because, of course, the impact that has on sale price and marketability. So he was fighting, and he's like, high $60,000 is the property tax bill, and then you got down, I think, to the 50s. This year it went up to 90. $90,000 property tax bill on a home that's real market value is $1.3 million. And now the guy who buys it will be able to appeal the taxes and get those reduced probably to something like 30 or 35, which is still a fleecing, but it's nothing like 90 on 1.3 because now we have a real market value because you had a transaction. But I mean, you understand that no one escapes. You think, like, you look at these poor people and fixed incomes and unincorporated rich, or these poor communities in the south suburbs. Oh yeah, that's terrible. I'm sure glad that isn't happening to us. It is happening to you. Go up and down the price point for these homes in these various communities. It's happening everywhere. There are a few exceptions where you have a huge commercial tax base, like in Oak Brook, but still, it's still no better there than it is in Indiana. In fact, it's a little bit worse. And as I've said all these years about Illinois, if you can't get a party, because obviously the Democrats are the tax eaters and their constituents are the ones whose public sector pensions are being underwritten by your home. Your home is collateral for their pension, so they're not the party that's going to do anything. The Republican Party's inability to take up this issue and amplify it and advance sort of simple reforms like the Indiana system, or even, God forbid, the California system. Imagine that. They did it by referendum in the 80s in California. It's basically the same deal, 1% hard cap on property taxes as a percentage of home value. I mean, it's just such a catastrophic failure. It is such a indefensible thing that they've done or not done. And the Illinois electorate, you can't just, sort of outsource your future to a political party. You can't say, oh, well, I don't care about my home value because the Republican Party doesn't, which is essentially the position that people have taken. If I can't get you, this was the value proposition I presented in 2018. If I can't get people to care about their home value more than I do, well, then we're cooked. And guess what?
Now people are crying.
Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
In the heart of Bedford Falls, one man faced incredible challenges in his business journey. George Bailey, a humble banker, knew that success often comes hand in hand with adversity. But George wasn't alone in his struggle. He discovered the power of resilience, innovation, friends, and community. Like George, your business may face obstacles, financial setbacks, fierce competition, IT nightmares, or unforeseen crises. But remember, it's not about the challenges you face. It's about how you overcome them. At Turnkey, we understand the George Bailey spirit. We're here to provide you with the solutions, guidance, and support you need to conquer your business and IT challenges. Whether you're a small-town bank, distributor, manufacturer, or a cutting-edge startup, we believe that every business has the potential to thrive. Together, we'll build a bridge to your success, just like George Bailey did in Bedford Falls. Join us at Turnkey. Let's write your own It's a Wonderful Business Life. Because, like George, your dreams are worth it. Start a conversation today by visiting turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Maybe the next guy that Ron DeSantis should debate is Disney CEO Bob Iger, 606.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
The landing tuna line finally heard in court. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
Smoke is rising over Gaza again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The war is back on after a week-long break.
The strongest strikes we've heard in the southern part of Gaza. That is thought to be a Hamas stronghold.
Fox's Greg Palcott near the Gaza border in Israel.
Both sides are blaming each other. After over 100 hostages were freed, Israel says Hamas did not present an adequate list of possible released captives. Also, before the ceasefire was set to end this morning, Hamas shot off rockets at neighboring Israeli villages.
Now, Israel says Hamas is still holding 137 hostages, 22 of them women and children. Two governors debated on Fox last night.
Neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
California Governor Gavin Newsom traded barbs with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's running for the White House, calling President Biden too old.
And, Gavin Newsom agrees with that. He won't say that. But that's why he's running his shadow campaign.
And as Fox's Jessica Rosenthal reports, they went back and forth.
I can handle it. I'm used to bully. You're nothing but a bully.
You're a bully.
I understand that.
The debate began with a question about why so many people have left California and, in some cases, gone to Florida, as well as other states.
California has no peers. California dominates.
California Governor Gavin Newsom insists people are also moving back to California. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said he laughed when Newsom said California was a more free state than his, but then reconsidered.
You have the freedom to defecate in public in California. You have the freedom to create a homeless encampment under a freeway and even light it on fire.
Congressman George Santos may be kicked out of the House today, but the Republican calls the vote to expel today a farce.
It is a predetermined necessity for some members in this body to engage in this smear campaign to destroy me.
After lying to New York voters about his past, Santos was indicted for campaign finance fraud, and a House ethics investigation found he spent campaign funds on himself. America's listening to Fox News.
Rain showers and 42 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Firefighters in Cicero battling an extra alarm blaze in an apartment building this morning. Fire broke out in that 3-story apartment block in the 5900 block of West 16th in Cicero. Right now, it's unknown exactly how many people have been displaced or if there are any serious injuries. The body of a woman found in a bag on the side of the road has now been identified. Lake County Coroner's Office says the victim has been identified as Megan Lewis of Chicago. Lewis's cause of death is consistent with strangulation. Prosecutors continue playing secretly recorded tapes during the federal trial against former longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. Yesterday, Burke was finally heard by jurors discussing the tuna comment.
Got some good news. I talked to Skydell today.
So did we land the tuna?
Tuna comment, of course, is a reference to the tax and other business Burke was trying to get from Skydell, developers of the massive old post office complex. Chicago police officer is being stripped of her powers after she was charged with falsely reporting a robbery earlier this year. Authorities say Officer Zandranika Williams was put on desk duty on Tuesday. And the father of the 6-year-old Muslim boy who was stabbed to death in October in Plainfield Township is suing his son's suspected killer. The Bulls snap a lengthy losing streak with a 120-113 win over the Bucks in Chicago. Kobe White, 23, Nikola Vucevic, 29 in the win. Blackhawks lost to the Red Wings 5-1. Northwestern Wildcats busy tonight. They'll try and topple the top-ranked team in college basketball when they host Purdue at Welsh Ryan. The News is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience at surroundchicago.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum puts it plainly.
People are making this idea up that innocent people dying in Gaza should be somehow a deterrent for Israel to take out Hamas. It is not, and it should not be. Israel has to take out Hamas. Enough is enough.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Paid actor portrayal.
Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. In 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected.
Ethos fast and easy online term life insurance up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
6:07, and let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And it is the beginning of the Chicago winter parking ban. Last year, about this time, 242 cars have been towed. And if video is any evidence, we've seen about that many cars towed already this morning. Burr Ridge accident, Frontage Road and 75th. Tri-State accident, left lane block. It's on the southbound side between the Bensonville Bridge and the Grand Avenue curve. Dan Ryan, outbound, report of an accident in the locals near Garfield. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Rain mainly early for today. There could be some snow mixed in, a high 41. Cloudy for tonight, some rain, low 38. Spotty drizzle tomorrow morning, otherwise a cloudy day. A high tomorrow at 43. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Rain across the area, 42 at O'Hare, 43. Lakefront. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Money Hour Radio Show, Saturday afternoons at 3. Brought to you by Pure Shale Financial Group at PureShaleFinancial.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Before we get to Disney CEO Bob Iger and DeSantis, just a couple of more comments on property taxes we were talking about before Mike Scott's newscast. I got to talk about this all morning.
I know. We've got dozens of text messages.
Well, there's so
about
many
people's-
facets.
there's
So many
tale of
facets to
woe.
this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go ahead. Read some
Oh
of the
my
text
gosh.
messages.
Winthrop Harbor, my taxes went up 16,000. 16,000. I spend a whole show on this, Dan and Amy, about the tax issue report, and then industrial property taxes as well. This is your hottest topic.
Well, one would think, I would think that the biggest investment most people make in their life is something that they would be concerned about. I mean, just sort of my logic kicking in, but apparently I'm wrong, at least in Illinois.
So sad.
By the way,
I
think I mentioned the story I was talking about, the house that would really in a place that was sane would be $3 million. It was 1.3. I think, did I say it was Oak Park?
Yeah, you did.
River Forest is where it was, so right next door. But I just want to get that
suburb.
right. Yeah, but I mean that's the point is that I have Oak Park on the mind because I've got another Oak Park story here. But you think you're in some wealthy enclave that's insulated from this, or you think you have. I mean, there's some people obviously that have all the money in the world and it doesn't matter, like the Pritzker family. But for most people, even people doing well, living in well-heeled communities, most people have some elasticity with respect to the tax burden they shoulder and the decimation of a major investment they make, like their home. Most people. But it also seems that most people don't care. They don't vote on that.
Dan and Amy, I live in Norwood Park. I am 70 years old and I'm still working because of my taxes. Escrow just went up $500 more per month. I have to leave or I will never be able to retire.
I know. It's a terrible story that repeats itself over and over again, and then my challenges, and so. Here's one. And here's an and so answer. Friend, this text from 815, bought a house in Hillside a few years ago. Again, middle income community. But friend bought a house in Hillside a few years ago. Taxes were around $6,000. Her last assessment sent her tax bill to $21,000. A few years ago, it goes from $6,000 to more than triples. Jeez. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on a slab in Hillside, so it's probably worth a couple $100,000, maybe. $250,000, maybe. So she went to the assessor's office to sit down and protest her taxes because surely there was a mistake. They looked at it and told her that maybe she should move if she can't afford her house. Mm-hmm. And then they dropped the $21,000 tax bill all the way down to $18,000. Oh, that's generous.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now she has an attorney that she can't afford, but she has no other choice. Oh, by the way, her husband voted for Biden. Right. I'm sure he did. And I'm sure they voted for Pritzker, too. And this is why my reservoir of empathy has run dry. What can I tell you? Oh, and by the way, we're talking about this against the backdrop of two of the biggest, most corrupt, longest-serving political machine bosses under federal indictment, one on trial, who fleeced, the little guy, fleeced Chicagoland, commercial property and residential property, if it was enough money, if it was a valuable enough property. Burke and Madigan, who were walking conflicts of interest for 50 years, and now the feds heroically got Ed Burke shaking down a Burger King and some other marginal transgressions in the grand scheme of things. And it'll be the same with Madigan. Oh, the ComEd deal. Give me a break. What a joke. What a joke we are. What a joke the media we indulge is. What a joke these institutions are. What a joke federal prosecutors even are in this state. In the hallowed Northern District of Illinois. Big deal. I'm wholly unimpressed. And forget talking about the Cook County State's Attorney's Office or the Illinois Attorney General's Office. And I almost don't care who has been there over the last 3 decades, with maybe the exception of Jim Ryan. Completely unserious people, completely compromised by the political ruling class. Part of it if they weren't compromised. What a joke. And you lose your home over it. Does that connect the dots? Does that, start to fire off some synapses? Light bulbs going off, an aha moment? Tell a friend. We're not even paying attention to the Burke and Madigan trials, and certainly no one other than us is connecting it to the liquidation of your homes. ABC7's I-Team last night certainly didn't. Never even think to make that connection because they pretend they either don't know how it works because they're just simpletons, or they pretend not to know because, we can only go so far in our charade as being some sort of check on the powers that be in the media and even in the court system. It's a tragedy. I mean, it's a Shakespearean tragedy. Little people, middle-class families, like my own, frankly, like my dad in the house in Wheaton that he's lived in for my entire adult life. My entire life, actually.
That's the house you grew up in.
Yeah. A small...
Does he get a senior discount or,
every guy's the senior circuit, but it doesn't matter.
I know. It's still too high. My neighbor moved out. She lived in my neighborhood for 32 years. She's like, I can't take it. The property taxes are too high.
The underlying property value gets chopped away day after day, month after month, year after year. So you don't see a return, even if you hold the property for 50 years. Not a real return. In a community that's still somewhat desirable because allegedly of the schools, although this is another beautiful lie that people are still telling themselves, but that because of the safety in the schools, at least relative to the destruction everywhere else around it. I'm talking about Wheaton. But again, the people who play by the rules and get fleeced by a system they finance. And a lot of those people who play by the rules, unfortunately, didn't connect the dots and have been party to the party that has liquidated their homes, the party that was always using their home as collateral for someone else's pension. I can't say it enough till it drives through the granite between some people's ears. So go tell someone. Make that an issue. Oh, you want to get super local where people live? I ask again, what is more impactful on your long-term quality of life financially than your home value? Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got your 401k. I mean, if you're like, again, a person who plays by the rule, not somebody who's got one of these gold-plated pensions financed by taxpayers from a bygone era, these defined benefit plans. But yeah, you've got your pension and you've got your salary and maybe you've made some other modest investments. But, people that are middle, even to upper middle income, I mean, they don't have like, I don't know what you think the quality, what some people think the cost of living is. You know this better than I do, Amy, but it's like, I'm investing I'm contributing to my 401k and maybe I've got a little trading account, but it's not like these people, and I've got $1 million position in a private equity concern and I've got a little piece of a restaurant. I mean, they don't have these expansive portfolios. So if the house gets liquidated, that's a big problem for their retirement. At minimum for their retirement. Big problem. Is this a newsflash to people? So it has to actually happen to you before you appreciate the threat? It's the most frustrating issue that bedevils the most frustrating electorate in the country. Henry in St. Charles.
Yeah, I'm 70 years old in St. Charles. I can't get the senior discount because I make too much money. My taxes also went up more than $220 a month on my little 800 square foot house.
800 square foot house, and what's your property tax bill in St. Charles?
I don't know the whole tax bill offhand. It just went up more than $220 this year.
So that's a $2,500 increase for this year on an 800 square foot place. Yeah, right. Thanks for the call, Henry.
Dan and Amy, I live exactly 1 mile over the Wisconsin border. My property taxes $2,900. Winthrop Harbor average is $10,000, and Wadsworth is $15,000 on the Illinois side.
It didn't come up, and to be honest with you, certainly in the
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Argentina had their Howard Beale moment, or found their Howard Beale a few weeks ago when they elected Javier Milei. I'd like to believe that there's a Howard Beale just off in the distance in Illinois, but I don't see it currently. George, Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, where's the sanctuary in your own home? All they're doing is stoking you.
Well, exactly. It's just.
But they
so,
tax you everywhere, like to park on the street, to do anything.
I get it, but this is just fundamental. I don't like all that other stuff.
Well, this is colossal compared to it, but still.
Even the state income tax. It's all like this is sort of what they did, divide your attention to focus on things that, Cook County gets riled up over Queen Sugar's soda tax, but they don't get riled up over the fact that your home is being liquidated. It's just, I don't know what to say to it. And what? Because blank checks for the schools and the teachers? Because, of course, that's primarily the source of of this catastrophe. And it's also the bulwark against any sort of structural reform of the property tax system. And then even when people say, well, then how are you going to fund the school? Hey, I'm fine for the state to finally live up to its constitutional responsibility to be the primary funder of K through 12 education, which means at least 50% plus one of the dollars used to fund K through 12 would come from state government. It would actually institute a discipline in state government because they'd have to rob from Peter to pay Paul in terms of some of the other gambits they get involved in. They couldn't do that anymore because they'd have to up their percentage funding of K through 12 by about 12 percentage points, which is a lot of money. So I'm fine. There's ways to, even though it's completely overfunded and you're diminishing marginal returns on the incremental increase in K through 12 funding over the last 20 years. I mean, that's a joke. But to get this done to save people's homes, sure, make the state pay 51% of the freight for funding K through 12 education, hold harmless the funding of K through 12 education in the state, and then you drastically reduce the reliance on property taxes for the local school districts. And people say, oh, well, what about local control? Local control is a myth. What kind of local control do you think you really have over the school districts? Most of these school boards are holding up subsidiaries of the statewide teachers union, and they're running the statewide program direct from, whatever educrat is in charge of the State Board of Education and is telling them to do this media literacy class and do this gay history class and teach this pornography in kindergarten and so on and so forth, which is happening everywhere. It's the illusion of local control. And even to the extent that it is in play in some districts, well, then you still have the ability to fight it out. You didn't lose your local school board. It's not going to be zero funding from local property tax of K through 12 education. So you're still going to be a stakeholder. You're still going to have a say. You're still going to have elected officials. I mean, there's no defense to the persistence of this completely kleptocratic property tax classification system in Cook County and the collars, really in Illinois, because 101 counties have one system and Cook County has the other. So the whole thing, but it's most poignantly visited upon Chicago Metro, where 60% of the population lives. There's no defense for having it. And everybody who has been silent, or even worse, profiting Burke, Madigan off of it, is guilty of thievery on a mass scale, destroying people's lives and their financial futures. That's what they've done. And you want to talk about what? A sport rifle ban? Abortion? Are you serious? No. The answer is this electorate is not serious. And so they elect completely unserious people. But there are serious consequences to that, aren't there? Jerry, Harwood Heights.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Thank you for taking my call. Just another comment about the property tax stuff. Amy read my text about my father's property taxes going up to $4,000. In the last couple of years, he always received the exemptions, the senior citizen exemption. He received 3 exemptions, which knocked his bill down. Well, this year, he didn't get the exemptions. So we went to the assessor of Leiden Township, and he told me that I had to fill out a certificate of error application to apply for the exemptions, because during COVID, the county never mailed out the applications, so they were kind of like grandfathered in. But now that COVID's over, the county was supposed to have mailed out the applications. We never received it. So what we have to do now is pay the $4,000 and hope that the application gets accepted and hope for a refund.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the call, Jerry. Well, so the whole point, though, this Rube Goldberg system is purposeful. This is what feeds all of these property tax appeals lawyers. You don't need senior circuit breaker and these exemptions and this, that. If you just have a hard cap at 1%, and it shall not go up by more than that until there is an event, either via a sale or via a home improvement, till there's a capital event. Simple. They don't want it to be simple. Simple doesn't feed anyone except you, the property owner. Doug in Oswego.
Hey, you there?
Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
St. Charles guy said it. He didn't know what his tax bill was. He just knew it went up. People escrow their taxes through their bank. They look at the tax bill. It doesn't really hurt them. They had to save that money and write the check themselves. Then they'd do something about it, like I do.
Well, it's a great point. Thanks for the call, Doug. I've addressed it before, but I'll address it again because it's like income tax. It's like withholding for income taxes. If people had to write the check, maybe you'd see a little bit more angst and vitriol directed through the proper channels. So one of the things that you could do, one of the things I've suggested is don't allow in Illinois for people to pay their property taxes via escrow. Oh. Make them write the check.
Well, that would wake them up.
I mean, it's one way to do it, but I mean, but even still, you still feel it because, I'm
paying more in property taxes than I am in principal.
Well, there you go.
So many of us.
Right. So that's one example of it. Even if you own your home free and clear, now you're seeing what you're getting charged on a monthly basis. So those people know what they're paying. And, I don't know, you look at your mortgage statement and, you look at, the outstanding balance. And when you notice that you're paying more or even the same and you're not increasing your equity, I mean, maybe that gives some people pause for reflection. I don't know. But you're right. There's no question. I mean, this is what Milton Friedman said about the withholding system since he helped design it for the IRS, which is the worst thing I did because it disconnected people from the impact of the cost the government was imposing. Make people write the check. 100% on board with that. But even still, that's no excuse for not knowing better. That's not no. I mean, we have too many stories. You're hearing them all today. We've documented literally thousands of them over the last decade. So people know, a lot of people know, and a lot of people don't do anything about it. Look at the story from Hillside. Oh, I know, and it's terrible, and we're between a rock and a hard place now, and I'm going to continue voting for those Democrats. Okay. Vince, St. Charles.
Good morning, guys. I live in St. Charles, and I escrow, and I pay $6,000 on a 1,600 home, and I received a rebate, and it went up $250 after the rebate was $250. So I know exactly what I pay, and so it's like a touch over $6,000. So I escrow, and I know what I pay. So I'm odd. I don't know. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's good. I mean, thanks for the call. It's an issue, but that's my point. Not, but some people are paying close attention because they know how big the numbers are and how impactful they are. Rob, Northwest Indiana.
Hey, Dan, Amy, the greatest talk show, morning show in the Midwest. I listen to you every day. I don't understand how anybody in Illinois. I don't live in Lake County. I'm from Northwest Indiana, but I'm in a rural county. I pay 2 installments. It's $600 a year on 2 houses. That's my property tax bill. I just don't understand how people in Illinois can make that payment and continue to make that payment and stay in Illinois.
Thanks for the call, Rob. I mean, I hear you. Look, I mean, just personal experience. I mentioned this before, but I'll mention again. So I had this well-appointed condo at Lake Point Tower, 1 bedroom.
Right. How much?
My property tax bill on the condo at Lake Point Tower in Chicago was the same as my home in Naples, Florida, that is 5 times the value of my condo at Lake Point Tower. And here again, just like we used to say with respect to Indiana. And the funny thing about it is, in Florida, just like Indiana, they have police and fire departments. They have schools. Yeah, they got all this.
Better than ours.
Yeah, right. They got roads, and so they got all these fixins that people say, well, then how are you going to fund this and how are you going to fund that if you don't have these confiscatory property taxes and income taxes and every other, and the highest tax burden per capita in the country? Well, I don't know. How do other states do it?
I ran into John Cass on Sunday. I was in Highland doing yoga, and I stopped by a store, and he and his wife Betty were walking in, and we talked, and I explained that I've been going here since June of 2020, and he moved here, and he said, I used to pay $18,000. I pay $3,200 a year, and is a nicer home. So he's smart.
Again,
he moved.
The numbers are the numbers are the numbers. The reality, the comparative shopping is what it is. The stories are legion. So Illinois residents have to decide what they want to do about it, or continue doing more or less nothing. I don't know what to tell you other than that. At 6:36, we'll continue our conversation about matters economic, but we'll expand it to things that are macro and national in nature. Scott, the cow guy, Shellady at 6:36.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
43 degrees. We have rain showers in Chicago, and Israel and Hamas have ended their 7-day truce.
Israeli fighter jets pounding the Gaza Strip. It comes as the fragile temporary truce between Israel and Hamas is now over. They had tried to extend the peace by at least 2 more days. Those talks are reportedly still underway, but right now there's no word if there's a chance for a new agreement. The Israeli military restarted its war on Hamas shortly after they intercepted a rocket launched from Gaza. Israel is also dropping leaflets urging Palestinians to leave parts of southern Gaza. The move is signaling a widening offensive.
Fox's Jackie Ibanez. Parental rights came up during the debate between California Governor Gavin Newsom and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Fox News.
So this is a book that's in some of the schools in California. Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Gender Queer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air. This is pornography. It's cartoons. It's aimed at children.
Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom claimed Florida and other states were using the book as a cultural sword. Firefighters in Cicero this morning battled an extra alarm blaze in an apartment building. Fire broke out in that building, a 3-story block in the 5900 block of West 16th. Early on, it's unknown how many people have been displaced or if anyone was hurt. Chicago police officer is being stripped of her powers after she was charged with falsely reporting a robbery earlier this year. Authorities say Officer Zandranika Williams was put on desk duty on Tuesday. And the father of the 6-year-old Muslim boy who was stabbed to death in October in Plainfield Township is suing his son's suspected killer. Wadia El-Fayoumi's father filed that wrongful death suit against Joseph Chuba, his wife, and their property management company. The news is a service of Townstone Financial. Should you buy a new home? Can you afford it? Can you pay off those credit cards using your home? Townstone.com has answers, or call 312-896-2110. Illinois Mortgage Licensee 6629, NMLS 136639. A check of traffic and weather's on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka gives a history lesson.
The Arabs were offered a solution in 1947, a two-state solution. They rejected it. Israel re-established their nation, and they were instantly attacked by the Arab nations of the region. And in fact, they pulled out of Gaza until Hamas took over.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's obvious. The unthinkable continues. Most Americans know something very wrong is happening. People in charge keep telling you that everything's fine and to stop noticing. But you know better. That's why self-reliant folks are investing in emergency food storage. You should too. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, are the ones you can trust. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and secure their best-selling 3-month emergency food kits. Each contains tasty breakfasts, lunches, and dinners averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Save $200 on each 3-month food kit you purchase. My Patriot Supply also sells solar generators, gravity-powered water filters, off-grid room heaters for when the power goes out, heirloom seeds, and survival gear. Order by 3 p.m. and your items ship that same day and arrive quickly on your doorstep in unmarked boxes. Go to mypatriotsupply.com today. Time is running out to prepare for what's coming. mypatriotsupply.com.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
You've heard me talk about my love of coffee over and over again. I'm here to tell you I have discovered one of the best brews I've ever tasted and a company that I cannot wait to support. I'm here to tell you about Bone Frog Coffee. The Bone Frog is a sacred symbol in the SEAL teams. It honors those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. Bone Frog was founded by Tim Crook Shank, a former Navy SEAL and 25-year Navy veteran. Bone Frog honors the fallen, those who gave everything for our freedoms and our American way of life, by giving 10% of all the proceeds to benefit many of the U.S. Navy SEAL foundations. Here's what I need you to do. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Get 10% off your first order. You will also get 15% off Bone Frog Coffee subscriptions. Just enter Liberty at checkout. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. That's bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Taste one of the best brews you ever tasted. 10% of the proceeds go to benefit the Navy SEALs. You'll feel good. It's an American company. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty.
The holiday season is right around the corner. Give the gift that's hard to wrap, but easy to give. Give them a Steel. Visit your local Steel dealer or go to steelusa.com/gift guide.
It is 6:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Lowe's. Now at Lowe's, get the lowest prices of the year on select appliances. 45% off and save an extra $100 on every $800 you spend on select appliances. Valid through 12/6. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for any detail. In Addison this morning, report of an accident, Fullerton and Hale. Mundelein, there's a major transformer fire this morning. Route 60 and Route 83. Niles, an accident, Howard and Caldwell. On the Veterans Memorial Toll, we're seeing an accident reported, 2 right lanes blocked. It's northbound 355 just after 159. Delays on the Bishop Ford and I-57 into the Ryan merge. Ryan itself at 25 into the Burns Circle. Outbound Dan Ryan, stop-and-go traffic at 87th with an accident. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast, a cooler day ahead. Rain could mix with snow in the far northwest suburbs, and a high of 41. Touch of rain overnight, a low of 38. Currently, we have 42 degrees. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business powered by Mirabali Insurance. Sunday evenings at 6.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Bob Iger is the CEO of Disney. He was called out at this New York Times DealBook confab by Elon Musk right after he told Bob and his friends who were boycotting Twitter in terms of their advertising to go make love to themselves.
Yeah, it's the F blank heard around the world.
Here's what Iger had to say to the smug twit Aaron Ross Sorkin, who's interviewing all these people, including Reparation H, the vice president. We'll get to her later. Here's what Bob Iger had to say, explaining why Disney stopped advertising on Musk's platform.
I mentioned X, and we're going to see Elon Musk in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You stopped advertising on X.
We did.
Tell us about that decision.
I have a lot of respect for Elon and what he's accomplished, and not just one business, but a few businesses. And we know Elon is larger than life in many respects, and that his name is very much tied to the companies he either has founded or he owns, whether it's Tesla, or SpaceX, SpaceX, or now X. Mm-hmm. And by him taking the position that he took in quite a public manner, we just felt that the association with that position and Elon Musk and X was not necessarily a positive one for us, and we decided we would pull our advertising. And we are now allowing entities at the company to use X as a platform to communicate. ABC News is a good example of that. ESPN, another. We use it.
But do you anticipate this is forever?
I haven't readdressed it since the decision was made.
Do you find it a good advertising platform?
We reach people on a lot of social media platforms. It's become in general, social media has become an effective way for us to communicate, whether it's marketing message or otherwise. Specifically, I don't want to be specific about X itself.
So that's what prefaced Elon Musk's interview, in which he told Bob Iger and others who he accused of essentially trying to extort him with advertising to go make love to themselves. What's the impact of that on corporate America that's still, or maybe not still, maybe starting to, is a better way to describe, starting to wrestle with the wokeness and their capture by Marxists, Gen Z, Gen X, millennial, I don't know, all of the above Marxists? I don't know. Are they starting to wrestle with that? In the wake of the Supreme Court decision and the Harvard admissions case and discussions that ESG, reporting actually, that ESG investing is down. We've talked to Steve Moore about that. That DI officers are starting to get laid off. Where's this going in corporate America?
For more on this and other matters, Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1 Chicago time, and host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
What impact do you think Musk's rather surprising and unvarnished response to those boycotting Twitter in terms of advertising, what impact will that have in corporate America?
Well, I think to your point, it's definitely moving in favor of anti-wokeness. I mean, I had a guest on my show yesterday. You're probably familiar with Dr. Ben Carson, Larry Elder, a guy by the name of John Rich from Big and Rich. He's a country music star. They started a bank here in Nashville, but it's actually national, called Old Glory, to kind of get around all the wokeness, right? Because I've been speaking to groups over the last 2 years that have seen fossil fuel companies get debanked because they've had 30-year relationships that have gone under because some of these banks have become woke and won't take their business anymore. You saw what happened to Nigel Farage over in England.
Gun sellers, sure.
Finally, he was with Coots too. I mean, that's the Queen's Bank. I feel as though that people are waking up to this garbage, and what happens is that you try to. A lot of people try to massage it and maybe even acquiesce a little bit and try to play by their rules a little bit. But once that happens and they're in, that Trojan horse is never coming back. They got you. So unless you stop it from the beginning, it's a disease that's pretty hard to shake. So I think more and more corporations and maybe even hopefully CEOs are waking up to the fact that this is a load of garbage, and it's not, it's not a mainstream view. There are some special interest groups that will then try to start problems and go call other firms like Disney and say, hey, are you sure you want to advertise on these platforms? But I think that those places are going to slowly but surely start falling on more dead ears, especially in the wake of what we've seen happen with the government and how they got in bed with big tech and all the things like that that are coming to the fore. I think the American public, the silent majority, is absolutely sick of it.
Yeah, I think Bob Iger's comment, though, yesterday made me not want to go to Disney even more than I already don't want to go.
Well, I mean, look, they're struggling. I mean, they're not doing well. They're ESPN's not doing well. I mean, this is something. This is a cancer that's got into these big corporations, and it's turned them around, and it's not good. And so, if you've got common business sense and you do the right thing, it's sometimes hard to say what you want to say. But I think that the American people are waking up to the fact that they'd much rather do business with somebody they know where they stand, rather than do business with somebody that says something in order to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, exactly what Musk mentioned in another response that ended with F you, which was that, he's sick of people that are pretending to do good while they're doing evil, these sort of phony do-gooders, and he's essentially calling them out. There's a lot of weasels in C-suites in corporate America.
Absolutely, and I think that what proves his point is that a lot of the folks that were offended by what he had to say were not offended by what he had to say. They were offended that he had to swear while he said it. I mean, that's how they attacked him, not about his actual content.
Right.
So that's what I thought was fun. Yeah. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, okay, so the guy swore. Who cares? You haven't heard that before? I mean, all this stuff about,
sure. Virgin ears in corporate America, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, it's still all garbage. It makes me, and I see it now that I'm in the media full time. I mean, it takes patience, but I mean, it's unbelievable that the world, goes around like this sometimes. It really is, and I've woken up to the fact that it's hard. It's not easy. When you've got 95% of the people out there that are gunning for you because they don't like what you they want you to, acquiesce, and they want you to heal, and they want you to do as they say. It sometimes is a lonely road.
All right. Well, and this is the part of the interview where we give you an opportunity to apologize to us and our listeners. You talked your doom and gloom predictions about the market, kept my money largely on the sidelines, like yours. And look at the run up. Everything's coming up roses. Inflation is down. Dow rallies another 500 points yesterday. And I could be I could be buying an electric vehicle or something with the money that I would have made if I didn't listen to you.
I want to hear you tell me how inflation is down. I mean,
they said it.
They,
them.
Oh, them?
The experts
who are them,
said
Dan,
it.
as you always say?
The experts.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, you know what, when people that put they, them, or he, she on their CV, their resume, that just means I'm going to be a problem at HR. You know, it's like, okay, thank you for letting me know ahead of time. Here's the deal. 3.2% the inflation. It's still going up, but at a slower pace. The media are trying to tell you that, hey, if Shelly is gaining weight at a slower pace this year than he did last year, is he getting thinner?
Yes.
That's what they're telling you. It's okay, so let me give you the skinny on this. No pun intended. Here's the problem. The consumer is 70% of the economy. We've got places that sell food like Kroger, Walmart, Costco, saying that the consumer is starting to run on fumes. And here's the headlines are: hey, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we had sales, 8% higher, 7% higher. Some of them were 9% higher. Salesforce.com said that. Adobe said that. A few other outlets said that. But they're only counting e-commerce. E-commerce is only 24% of retail sales. When you take in bricks and mortar with e-commerce over those 2 days, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, sales were up 2 to 2.5% from this time last year. And by the way, inflation's up 3.2%. So net, it's a negative, okay? And then I'll throw in the kicker. People that are buying things on buy now, pay later, that's up 47% year over year. So the consumer is so tapped, they've got to go to these buy now, pay later sites, and we still have less sales than we did this time last year when you take into inflation and bricks and mortar. I'm telling you, go ahead and put your money in the market. That's fine. I'm not going to try to tell you. Yes, we were up 8.5% for the month of November. That is like a good year. That is a good year. We're not back up to the highs, but boy, oh boy, that was a good month. And it's on the back of the fact that everybody thinks that it's just going to be fine. We're going to start cutting rates. Well, let me ask you why we're going to cut rates. You must think the economy's bad if you think we're going to be cutting rates, or they wouldn't cut rates. They don't cut rates when things are great. These people are talking out of both sides of their mouths, but let them go, let it do it, and everybody's rushed to the stock market. That's fine. But I've been doing it for 36 years, and I got to where I am by not following the crowd. And the crowd is going bananas, baying for rate cuts. And we'll see. But I'm telling you right now, the thing that drives this economy is Mr. and Mrs. Consumer, and they got no more dough. That's it.
All right, Scott the Cow Guy, ladies, that's a good counterpoint. You've definitely managed to avoid the necessity of an apology. Scott the Cow Guy, market specialist for Market Day, 10:30 to 1 p.m., and host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thank you as always.
All right, guys, have a good weekend.
You too, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. You may have heard me on the radio sharing information about taxes, the IRS, or some other legal topic. Over these many years, I've learned quite a lot about helping business owners. It's pretty complicated out there. Business owners must always be learning just to keep up. So I've put together an email newsletter where I share information with business owners for free. That's right, no charge. All you have to do is go to radiotaxman.com and provide your email address. That's it. You may wonder why I would do that. Well, I know business owners are going to need help now and again. Tax returns, IRS trouble, business structuring, tax planning, and a whole lot more. I also know that if I share accurate, important information with you, information you can trust, you may give me an opportunity to help you. That's it. You don't have to ask for my help, but I want to offer it to you. Pretty simple. Go to radiotaxman.com right now and sign up for my email newsletter. That's radiotaxman.com. It's free. Together we can fight back now.
Once again, we're partnering with Food for the Poor this season to provide life-saving food to children in Haiti and Latin America. This is a long-running partnership we've had with Food for the Poor, to anybody who's listened to this show for a while, because it's such a good organization that has such a great track record, 40 years of 5-star nonprofit service to people really on the brink of starvation in the developing world, countries like Haiti. I don't think I need to describe that in detail. I think we're all pretty knowledgeable about how difficult things are in places, in certain places in Central America and the developing world. Over the last 40 years, Food for the Poor has fed millions of people, provided more than $15 billion in aid, thanks to the generosity of people like you, our listeners. What we're asking for this season to meet our goals, again this year, your gift of just $80 can feed 2 children for 1 year, 2 kids for a year for just $80 you can feed.
That's like the cost of going to the grocery store once a week.
Exactly. That's a bottle of wine for me. For a gift of $320, you can feed 8 children for a year. That's the impact your gift can have. To make a gift of any amount, and these are tax deductible, of course, it's nonprofit, 501c3, 844-862-4673 is the number, 844-862-4673, or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
And we need your help. We have reached about halfway to our goal this year. And if you're a business owner or make the marketing decisions for your company, listen up. You got to hear this deal. I know you might have heard a bit about it before, but really consider becoming a business benefactor. If you ever thought, I might want to advertise, take my business to the next level, this is the time and the place to do it. Best deal in all of Chicagoland radio. What it is a one-time tax-deductible gift of $2,500. The money goes to Food for the Poor. And as a way of saying thank you, we give you 40 one-minute commercials that air right here Monday through Friday. And you will be providing life-saving food for 65 children to Haiti and other Latin American and Caribbean countries for a year. And you'll also be helping your business. We already want to thank Brewster Machining Incorporated, Marshall Pierce and Company, Fine Jewelry.
Marshall Pierce, that's my friend Jerry Byrne, who's a really good dude. And, you can only imagine what business has been like on the Mag Mile these days in Chicago. So, Amy, when you start doing your holiday shopping, why don't you go down there and get Peyton and Eli matching watches, Rolexes, of course, from
Marshall Pierce and Company, Fine Jewelry and Luxury Watches. Jeff Tischler, he's author of High Tech versus the Highest Tech. Chris Jacobs with Century 21, Circle, and Inverness. The list goes on and on. So be one of the cool kids because this sells out every year. Who do you call? Anjanette Natowski. Her number is 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been around a long time. Every one of us, as we age, realizes that things are changing in our bodies, in the world around us. Lots of times I don't like what's happening, so what can I do about it? Well, the one thing we can do is pray, right? The other thing we can do is take better care of ourselves. I do that by taking Balance of Nature because I'm not really good at nutrition. I'm too busy, I'm on the run, and I don't eat enough vegetables, and I certainly don't eat enough fruit. And when I take Balance of Nature, I can feel good that I've done something for myself that I can actually control. So take control. Get Balance of Nature.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-2468-751 and get this special offer by using discount code KLG.
In the heart of Bedford Falls, one man faced incredible challenges in his business journey. George Bailey, a humble banker, knew that success often comes hand in hand with adversity. But George wasn't alone in his struggle. He discovered the power of resilience, innovation, friends, and community. Like George, your business may face obstacles, financial setbacks, fierce competition, IT nightmares, or unforeseen crises. But remember, it's not about the challenges you face. It's about how you overcome them. At Turnkey, we understand the George Bailey spirit. We're here to provide you with the solutions, guidance, and support you need to conquer your business and IT challenges. Whether you're a small-town bank, distributor, manufacturer, or a cutting-edge startup, we believe that every business has the potential to thrive. Together, we'll build a bridge to your success, just like George Bailey did in Bedford Falls. Join us at Turnkey. Let's write your own It's a Wonderful Business Life. Because like George, your dreams are worth it. Start a conversation today by visiting turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro. You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel. breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel. Not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk to Brendan O'Neill from Spiked about the situation in the Middle East, as well as the Western media's reaction to it, and the unrest over the weekend in Dublin. That's 7:07.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
The father of a Muslim boy stabbed to death in Plainfield Township has filed a lawsuit. The Illinois Supreme Court rules FOID cards can't be obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
They ceased the ceasefire. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Air raid sirens in Israel after rockets fired by Hamas. The war in Gaza back on.
Blast in the background right now. Israel announcing it was resuming strikes and hit a variety of locations.
Fox's Greg Palcott near the Gaza border.
Locals were warned to leave certain areas in the south, but still there are a bunch of reported casualties, adding to the humanitarian disaster. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's office released a statement. The government of Israel is committed to achieving the goals of the war, releasing the hostages, eliminating Hamas, and ensuring Gaza never again constitutes a threat to the residents of Israel.
Now, the talks in Qatar continue, trying to get a ceasefire back in place to get more hostages out. Israel says Hamas still has 137 people captive. A red state, blue state debate on Fox. Two governors sparred last night. California Democrat Gavin Newsom touting
14 million jobs, 10 times more than the last three Republican presidents combined.
Because he had
815,000 manufacturing
the jobs were because of the COVID lockdowns. Are you kidding me?
Florida Republican Ron DeSantis firing back.
They have chosen in California to put the interests of the criminals over public safety.
They also got into it over immigration.
You're trolling folks and trying to find migrants to play political games to try to get some news and attention so you can out-Trump Trump. And by the way, how's that going for you?
DeSantis, who's running for president, accused Newsom of running his own shadow campaign to try to replace President Biden as the 2024 Democratic nominee. The House will vote in a few hours considering expelling Republican Congressman George Santos, who refuses to go quietly.
If I leave, the bullies take place. This is bullying.
Santos, who lied to New York voters about his past, has also been indicted for fraud. A House ethics investigation found he spent campaigning money on himself. A federal judge has blocked Montana's ban on TikTok, supposed to take effect next year. The judge ruled oversteps the state's authority to infringing on TikTok users' rights. America's listening to Fox News.
7:02, rain showers on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Firefighters in Cicero battled an extra alarm blaze in an apartment building this morning. Fire broke out overnight in a 3-story apartment block in the 5900 block of West 16th. Right now, it's unknown how many people have been displaced or if anyone got hurt. The U.S. Supreme Court now has another challenge against Illinois' gun ban on its docket. The nation's high court docketed the case out of Naperville, where plaintiffs challenged the city and state's gun and magazine bans for sport rifles. Thursday, Justice Amy Coney Barrett ordered the state to respond by December 6th. Dudley Brown with the National Association for Gun Rights broke the news.
That means it's quite possible that the Supreme Court could intervene in that case and demand that they accept Bruin.
Now, Bruin is the precedent from the U.S. Supreme Court issued in 2022 requiring any restrictions on the Second Amendment to comply with the text of that amendment. Prosecutors continue to play secretly recorded tapes during the federal trial against former longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. Yesterday, the jurors heard Ed Burke discussing landing the tuna.
Got some good news. I talked to Skydell today.
So did we land the tuna?
The tuna comment, a reference to tax and other business Burke was trying to get from Skydell, developers of the massive old post office complex. The father of the 6-year-old Muslim boy who was stabbed to death in October in Plainfield Township is suing the son's suspected killer. Wadia El-Fayoumi's father filed that wrongful death suit against Joseph Chuba, his wife, and a property management company. The Bulls come up with a shocking 121-13 win over the Bucks here in Chicago. Blackhawks never led in a 5-1 loss to the Red Wings. Tonight, Northwestern's Wildcats will try to topple the top-ranked team in college basketball. Again, they did it last year. Will they do it this year when they host Purdue at Welsh Ryan Arena? The news service of Townstone Financial. Townstone can help you purchase a home faster and almost as easy as typing townstone.com or by calling 312-896-2110, Illinois Mortgage Licensee 6629, NMLS 136639. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher believes we've hit a new low.
Democrats slam Rashida Tlaib after she supports genocide against Israel. I don't know what's crazier, the Democrats denouncing her or the fact that a congresswoman supports genocide against the state of Israel. We are in dark times.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
You've heard me talk about my love of coffee over and over again. I'm here to tell you I have discovered one of the best brews I've ever tasted and a company that I cannot wait to support. I'm here to tell you about Bone Frog Coffee. The Bone Frog is a sacred symbol in the SEAL teams. It honors those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. Bone Frog was founded by Tim Crook Shank, a former Navy SEAL and 25-year Navy veteran. Bone Frog honors the fallen, those who gave everything for our freedoms and our American way of life, by giving 10% of all the proceeds to benefit many of the U.S. Navy SEAL foundations. Here's what I need you to do. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Get 10% off your first order. You will also get 15% off Bone Frog Coffee subscriptions. Just enter Liberty at checkout. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. That's bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Taste one of the best brews you ever tasted. 10% of the proceeds go to benefit the Navy SEALs. You'll feel good. It's an American company. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Paid actor portrayal.
Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. In 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected.
Ethos fast and easy online term life insurance up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
It's getting cold again, and the best way to keep yourself warm this winter, it's 2 words, heat holders. Heat holders makes the warmest thermal socks that exist. They keep your feet 7 times warmer than regular cotton socks. Heat Holders uses their proprietary 3-stage process involving advanced insulating yarns, intense brushing, and long loops, resulting in socks that combine warmth, softness, and comfort. Heat Holders is like a thermostat for your feet, keeping your feet warm, comfortable, and dry. They also make the best-in-class hats, gloves, throws, and more. Give Heat Holders this season. Go to heatholders.com and use the code Dennis and save 15% off your order. Receive free shipping with any purchase of $25 or more. Don't freeze this winter. Go to heatholders.com, heatholders.com with the code Dennis. Go to heatholders.com today.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Mundelein, a transformer fire has been cleared out of the intersection at Route 60 and Route 83. Round Lake, an accident. Route 134 and Cedar Lake Road. Cicero, we told you about that fire, but the intersection of Austin and 16th remains shut down. On the Reagan I-88, you've got very slow traffic already this morning, eastbound between Roosevelt and the Tri-State. Tri-State itself, northbound, jams up Roosevelt to the Ike. Bishop Ford and I-57, very slow into the Ryan merge. The Ryan about 30 minutes into the Burn Circle, and on the outbound Dan Ryan, accident left shoulder at 95th. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Clouds and some rain mainly early today. There could be some snowflakes mixed in too. High 41. Clouds, a bit of rain tonight, low 38. Spotty drizzle tomorrow. Otherwise, it'll be a cloudy day. High tomorrow afternoon at 43. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
42 and heavy rain showers at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Money Hour Radio Show, Saturday afternoons at 3. Brought to you by Pure Shale Financial Group at PureShaleFinancial.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We brought you the story the other day. We talked about it with Mark Hemingway from RealClearInvestigations.com yesterday, and we're going to continue talking about it. It is, you want to talk about existential threat, that phrase that's thrown around a lot. It's sort of been rendered meaningless, but this is one. Talking about, of course, the work of Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi primarily, first with the Twitter files, and now with the information they've got from a whistleblower about the Cyber Threat Intelligence League, which sounds like something out of a Marvel's comic book, but it's real. And this is, again, the censorship industrial complex. Federal government, deep state actors working indirectly and directly in some cases, as they did as was exposed in the Twitter files, as they did with social media companies in advance of 2020, to make sure 2016 never happens again, meaning someone that is unacceptable to the political ruling class, following Brexit first and then Trump's election. And Schellenberger and Taibbi, modern-day Woodward and Bernstein, testified again before the Weaponization of Government Committee, chaired by Congressman Jim Jordan yesterday. And here's what Schellenberger had to say in repeating some of what we told you a couple of days ago, but this was when he first disclosed what he and Taibbi had been given by this whistleblower. So now he's summarizing it for members of Congress. So nobody can pretend that they didn't know. And now we're going to see how deeply House Republicans, because who else, is willing to investigate, and how courageous they are in terms of bringing people forward, and relentless they are in furtherance of complete exposure of what has been going on in the dark corners of the federal government.
9 months ago, I testified and provided evidence to the subcommittee about the existence of a censorship industrial complex, a network of government agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security, government contractors, and big tech media platforms that conspired to censor ordinary Americans and elected officials alike for holding disfavored views. I regret to inform the subcommittee today that the scope, power, and law-breaking of the censorship industrial complex are even worse than we had realized back in March. 2 days ago, my colleagues and I published the first batch of internal files from the Cyber Threat Intelligence League, which show U.S. and U.K. military contractors working in 2019 and 2020 to both censor and turn sophisticated psychological operations and disinformation tactics developed abroad against the American people. What's more, the whistleblower who delivered the CTIL files to us says that its leader, a quote-unquote former British intelligence analyst, was quote-unquote in the room at the Obama White House in 2017 when she received the instructions to create a counter-disinformation project to, quote, stop a repeat of 2016. In 2020, the Department of Homeland Security, CISA, violated the First Amendment and interfered in the election, while in 2021, CISA and the White House violated the First Amendment and undermined America's response to the COVID pandemic by demanding that Facebook and Twitter censor content that Facebook itself said was, quote unquote, often true, including about vaccine side effects. All of this is profoundly un-American.
Profoundly un-American. And the election rigging is profoundly more serious in terms of trying to control information flow than any discussion about Zuckerboxes or Zuckerbucks or Dominion voting machines. I'll tell you that right now. Schellenberger also posed this question to Democrats who, run around saying that Trump is a threat to our democracy and ushers in the prospect of authoritarianism and so forth.
If the Democrats are very, very concerned about President Trump, I would ask them, if they're so concerned about President Trump, would you want him to control the censorship apparatus? Would you want that, given all the things that you've said? Would you like him to be able to call Twitter and Facebook and all these other platforms and demand that they censor content? Doesn't seem consistent to me.
And both Schellenberger and Taibbi are men of the left, as we've mentioned before. Schellenberger, environmental activist as well. Of course, the answer to Schellenberger's question, the real answer is, well, Mike, we don't need to worry about that because the deep state won't work for Trump. They'll work for us, just like they did when he was president. That's what they think, I think. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Brendan O'Neill, chief political writer at Spiked Online. Brendan O'Neill, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, how's it going?
Well, we're going to have some difficulty getting the D.C. press corps to pick this up. So Schellenberger and Taibbi and what some outlets like ours can do. But since this new Cyber Threat Intelligence League, includes, again, apparently former UK military folks, maybe you guys at Spiked can run with the ball as well.
Yeah, well, we've been writing about the rise of this new censorship industrial complex for some time. I've had a couple of conversations with Mike Schellenberger about it. He's doing some amazing work at the moment trying to raise awareness about this new system of thought control. And, what's happening in the US is particularly shocking, I think, because my understanding is that you guys have a First Amendment which forbids the government from interfering with the free speech of the citizens. And it seems that the government is finding a way around that by connecting with social media oligarchs and other agencies to basically get them to do the dirty work of censorship on the government's behalf. It's incredibly sneaky and deeply concerning. In Europe, it's a bit more open in terms of what is happening. We have this new piece of legislation in the European Union called the Digital Services Act, where huge social media companies have massive pressure put on them to take down problematic content. That could be actually illegal content, like a snuff movie or something, or it could be disinformation or content that might be harmful to young people. These are very subjective categories. And if these social media companies don't take the content down, they could face fines up to a value of 6% of their annual income. That is billions of dollars. So, of course, they will err on the side of caution and start taking down everything that potentially crosses a certain line. So censorship is running riot in the US and Europe at the moment, and I think we should take it very seriously.
Well, you saw what you're describing in Ireland in response to the violence over the weekend, in response to a violent mass stabbing attack that occurred. And the response from some Irish politicians was to excoriate Twitter or X for not taking down content that they wanted taken down related to the events that transpired when other social media platforms did. So here we go again. You fold in with the state, you do what we tell you to do, otherwise we're coming for you.
That's right. What's been happening in Ireland is very, very disturbing, and I think it's a sign of where the rest of Europe and potentially the rest of the world may soon go. So, as you say, there was this mass stabbing attack on the 23rd of November outside a school in Dublin. It was followed by a riot in the streets of Dublin, the worst riots they've had in Ireland in decades, because people are very ticked off with not being allowed to speak freely about mass immigration and some of the problems that it causes in Irish society. So they really kicked off and they went on O'Connell Street, a very famous street in Ireland, and burnt things down, etc. So a lot of instability in Ireland at the moment. And of course, the Irish government's response is not to listen to people's concerns, not to rethink its policies, which are increasingly unpopular, but to bring in tougher and tougher forms of censorship. So a hate speech law has been going through Irish Parliament for a while now, and they're now going to rush that through, bring it onto the statute books. This is a deeply Orwellian piece of legislation where you could potentially be arrested for saying something that any member of the public considers to be hateful or hurtful. I mean, it's an extraordinarily wide-ranging law that could see people fined and imprisoned for saying things that should not be illegal to say.
Actually, the state senator, the state senator was apparently one of the sponsors. In her speech we played the other day, she talked about anything that causes someone discomfort. That's quite a standard.
It's mind-blowing. I mean, it's almost, you feel like we're in a nightmare and we're going to hopefully wake up soon. It's crazy. And they have protected category groups in Ireland, people who are protected from discrimination. So that's people in relation to their gender identity, their sexuality, their race, their religion, etc. These are protected groups in Ireland and also in the UK, which means that you are not allowed to discriminate in public bodies against these people. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But with the hate speech law, what is now being put forward is that if you say something or promote an idea or hold a view that any member of one of those protected groups considers to be hateful or hurtful or discomforting, then you could potentially be arrested. So it is really quite staggering. And what's happened since the 23rd of November, since the stabbing and the riot, is that we've had the Justice Minister in Ireland boasting about contacting the Irish police and also contacting social media companies and forcing them to take content down. So we've had a situation now where Irish police officers have been phoning Facebook in Ireland and Twitter and TikTok and all the rest of them and instructing them to take things down. This is the beginnings of a police state. And I think where Ireland goes, other European countries will follow.
So were they upset, the lawmakers, that the riots were being broadcast on social media to create a bigger crowd, or were they mad that it was showing the world what's really going on?
Their argument is that the riots wouldn't have happened unless there were people on social media stirring them up. I think that's incredibly simplistic. I think these riots were an inevitable consequence of not allowing people to speak openly about mass immigration in Ireland. Just to give your listeners a sense of what's happening in Ireland, the statistics are extraordinary. 1 in 5 people in the Irish Republic was born overseas. That's 20% of the population. To give you a sense of what that means, in America, in the great melting pot era of America in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, around 15 or 16% of people in America were born overseas. In Ireland now, a tiny country, not a very rich country, it's 20%. This is very unusual for Ireland. Ireland is a country of mass emigration. That's why you have people like me in London and loads of Irish Americans as well. It's not a country of mass immigration. This is a new development. It's making people feel uncomfortable. It's putting resources under strain. But anytime someone tries to speak about it in public, they are damned as a bigot. They are told to shut up. They are arrested by the police. So that riot was the fury of the cancelled. It was the fury of people who are not being listened to. And blaming it on social media, I think, is just ridiculous.
Henry Kissinger, of course, the famed diplomat who just passed away at the age of 100 this week, in an interview he gave shortly before his death, he had this to say about multiculturalism.
Was a grave mistake to let in so many people of totally different cultural and religious and concepts, because it creates a pressure group inside each country that does that.
And so we see that happening in the U.S. as well because of the lawlessness at our border. And the point here is not to be opposed to immigration. Certainly Henry Kissinger, who escaped Nazi Germany, wasn't. But there's a way to do this is the argument, not to not do it at all. There's a way to do this, and this seems to be what the ruling class in the West refuses to engage upon.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'm not against immigration either. My parents are immigrants. I grew up in an immigrant community, which was, Irish, Indian, African descended people as well in London. And it was a fine community. That's going back a few years. I think what's happening now across Europe, in fact, is that we've had mass immigration from different parts of the world, a lot from the Middle East, a lot from North Africa, at the same time as there is a complete crisis of confidence in European countries, which are increasingly unwilling to integrate people into their cultural values, into their political values, into their moral values. So you have a real problematic mix of mass immigration and a failure to integrate people. And that has created a ticking time bomb of social problems. In Sweden now, parties from both the left and the right are openly saying that we have failed to integrate the hundreds of thousands of people we brought in from the Middle East. In Ireland, people are recognizing it too. And, everyone heard about the stabbing in Dublin a couple of weeks ago by a man of Algerian descent. But before that, a young school teacher in Tullamore in County Offaly was murdered by a man from Slovakia. That made global waves as well. And in Sligo last year, 2 gay men were murdered by a man from Iraq. One of those gay men was beheaded. He was decapitated. These stories are not even being told in the media. And it's difficult, I think, for people to comprehend how unusual those kinds of events are in a small country like Ireland, which is predominantly made up of tight-knit, mostly rural communities. In London, in New York, in places like that, random acts of violence are not unknown. In Ireland, they are incredibly unusual. So people are now asking questions and asking whether the ideology of multiculturalism is actually inflaming tensions and violence in society.
Brendan O'Neill, Chief Political Reporter at Spiked Online. Brendan, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I want to tell you that Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift for someone you love. I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews. I love that they're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Well, Roland's Jewelers has a large selection of both mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? Listen, I've been a customer of Roland's Jewelers for a long time. You should too. They're so impressive. Their staff is expertly trained. I encourage you to visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or visit RolandsJewelers.com. That's ROLLANDS, RolandsJewelers.com. Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust this holiday, just like I do.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here, and if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 5 am560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. You have a true partnership with a team that is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Kevin Bastuga, co-founder of Signature Bank. There's no better place to be for the holidays than Chicago. Signature Bank is wishing you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
And this is Brian Duncan, co-founder of Signature Bank. We wish you the very best this holiday season from Signature Bank, Chicago's business bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war in the term life industry. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45, non-smoker, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month, level rate for 10 years. Or a man age 50, non-smoker, can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of $110. Level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At Term Busters, a faith-based company, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 800-275-8525. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 800-275-8525. Remember, 800-275-8525. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-smoker underwriting exam required to qualify. Term Busters, a faith-based company. 800-275-8525. 800-275-8525.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Last night's DeSantis Newsom debate featured some props, including one on parental rights that was offered by Ron DeSantis. We'll start there, 7:37.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, it's 7:31. Heavy rain showers in the area and 42 degrees. After days of an agreed-upon ceasefire, a pause in the fighting is over between Israel and Hamas. Fox's Greg Polcott has details from Sderot, Israel.
After a week's pause, the fighting is on. The war between Israel and Hamas is raging again. We're just about a mile from the northern part of Gaza Strip. We've been seeing Israeli airstrikes. We've been hearing Israeli artillery. There was a whole bunch of smoke coming from there. We're also hearing automatic gunfire, a sign of clashes on the ground. Remember, there could be thousands of Israeli soldiers there. The strongest strikes have been in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. That is a Hamas stronghold. How do we get here? Well, both sides are blaming each other. After over 100 hostages were freed, Israel says Hamas did not present an adequate set of new captives to be released.
Hamas is still holding about 140 hostages. The House is poised to vote today on whether to expel New York Republican Congressman George Santos. A Montana judge is blocking the state's TikTok ban from going into effect next year. A preliminary injunction was issued Thursday saying the bill oversteps state power. Google is expected to begin deleting inactive accounts today, including all photos calendar entries, emails, contacts, and other documents. Users may still have time to save their accounts by simply logging in. Firefighters in Cicero battle an extra alarm blaze in an apartment building this morning. Fire broke out around 1 a.m. in a 3-story apartment block overnight in the 5900 block of West 16th in Cicero. The Bulls snap a lengthy losing streak. Following a 121-13 win over the Bucks, Nikola Vucevic went off 29 points, 10 rebounds. Kobe White, 23 of his own. Chicago hosts New Orleans tomorrow night. The Blackhawks lost to the Red Wings 5-1. They visit Winnipeg tomorrow. The Northwestern Wildcats will try and topple the top-ranked team in college basketball tonight when they host Purdue at Welsh Ryan Arena. And tomorrow, second-ranked Michigan battles number 16 Iowa in the Big Ten football championship in Indianapolis. Division III football will be rooting for North Central of Naperville tomorrow in their quest for a third national title. They take on Wisconsin lacrosse in the Sweet 16 or in the quarterfinals tomorrow. The news is a service of Dan and Amy 24/7, around the clock, all day, every day. Listen now, danandamy247.com. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum is looking for something real from the White House.
Let's renew our sense of connection with each other and reinforce the importance of our unity. I think that's really important.
What does that mean? She said nothing. What is she even talking about? You gotta try hard to be this fake.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Homeowners experiencing low water pressure, rusty yellow water, little to no hot water, or pressure so low that showering is difficult?
Honey, don't flush. I'm in the shower.
These are all symptoms of clogged and corroded galvanized water pipes that are filled with gunk older than you. You should see it. It's disgusting. You drink it, brush your teeth with it, and bathe in it. Yuck. For your family's sake, repipe your home with quality PEX or copper pipes from All Affordable Plumbing. We're your local, family-owned and operated repiping expert. We can repipe your home in 1 to 3 days with minimal disturbance, and we include a lifetime guarantee. And for a limited time, we're offering 12-month no-interest, no-payment financing and a free water heater. So if you have low water pressure, call for a free in-home estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. That's 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. If you have low water pressure, a copper repipe will get you flowing again. Call for a free estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE. That's 800-NEW-PIPE.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. But not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hi, Wayne Burdick, Health Insurance Specialist. Open enrollment for individual and small group plans has arrived. There are many plan changes for 2024. Let me help you find the right plan. Lower your cost of insurance, reduce deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses. Call now, 847-274-5918, or go to lowercosthealthplans.com. Having an agent is crucial and no cost to you. Call Burdick Insurance at 847-274-5918 or lowercosthealthplans.com.
The holiday season is right around the corner. Give the gift that's hard to wrap but easy to give. Give them a Steel. Visit your local Steel dealer or go to steelusa.com/gift guide.
It is 7:37. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Edens, 40 minutes. Lake Cook Road into the junction. We'll look at the Kennedy for you in 90 minutes from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Kennedy outbound jamming up between Montrose and I-190. The Eichen, it's 1 hour from 390 into the old post office. Watch out for an accident on the outbound Ike right shoulder right at North Avenue. Checking the Dan Ryan, 39 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Solid and heavy traffic jamming into the Ryan merge on I-57 and the Bishop Ford. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your AM 560 Weather Center forecast, a cooler day ahead. Mostly rain in Chicago and the close-in metro area, but out in the northwest suburbs, cooler temperatures could add some heavy wet snowflakes to the mix with a high of 41. Touch of rain and 38 overnight. Spotty drizzle tomorrow. Currently rain and 42. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It's touted as the debate that Americans wish they were getting, Newsom versus DeSantis last night on Fox News, even though it was presented as sort of red state, blue state, but the debate that Americans wish they were getting for president that they're not going to get. They're not getting and they're not going to get. Is that your view? Is that something you wish after watching it? Is that something that's so untrue for you that you didn't even bother watching it? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
I don't know. Did you like it? Did you learn anything, Dan? Did it change your mind or anything? Which state does it best? Anything such as that?
Yeah, right. I was really confused.
It
I was really confused about Florida versus California before last night's debate. Maybe some people were confused after listening to Gavin Newsom trying to offload onto Florida everything that is California. But there was a moment, though, a couple of good moments, a few good moments, actually. One of them was DeSantis doing his carrot top routine and being a bit of a prop presenter. We mentioned earlier in the show the human feces map of the streets of San Francisco, which was a fun little discussion. You don't often hear a discussion of human feces in a debate at that level, but okay. That's the situation.
Poop map.
Well, that's the situation in the Sunshine State and in the Bay Area. But the other prop presented by DeSantis, which you also don't often see, is cartoons of young people performing sex acts. But that's also where we are as a culture. And this was against the backdrop of the fight over the legislation signed in the state of Florida to prevent indoctrination via pornography of kids in K through 3, the legislation that's been smeared as Don't Say Gay, versus what they do in California. And DeSantis presented an excerpt from Genderqueer, a book that's gotten a lot of attention, both for the graphic displays I just referenced, as well as for the language in the book that parents, when they read at a school board meeting, are chided that they cannot read that, but the kids can consume it, apparently. That's a very curious situation in K through 12 education in so many government schools. And here's how DeSantis presented his case on topic.
The role of the schools to educate kids, not indoctrinate kids. It's not to impose an agenda, it's to do the basics. And what we've said in Florida is it's inappropriate to tell a kindergartner that their gender is a choice. It's inappropriate to tell a second grader that they may have been born in the wrong body. Now, California has that. They want to have that injected into the elementary school. My wife and I have a 7-5 and a 3-year-old. We don't think that that's appropriate. And I know most parents do not think it's appropriate. It's also important to respect parental rights to know what curriculum is being used in the classroom, and everything should be age appropriate. I actually have something that I brought that some parents have objected to. So this is a book that's in some of the schools in California. Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Genderqueer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air. This is pornography. It's cartoons. It's aimed at children, and it's wrong. So this should not be in schools. When people like on the left say that somehow you're banning books by removing this from a young kid's classroom, no, this is not age appropriate. And so we're going to stand for the rights of parents. I think we need to do that nationwide. I don't think you can have a situation where some states just trample on the rights of parents. Parents have a fundamental right to direct the education and upbringing of their kids.
And Newsom's defense, this is great.
Oh, I love
And
this.
we don't, complete lie, we don't require K through third grade sexual education. That doesn't happen until middle school.
The pornography doesn't start till middle school. Oh, well, why didn't you say so?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also reach us on our text line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
The one thing on this topic that DeSantis didn't mention that I wish he would have, he did talk about the California tourism for gender-bending policies for minors. So come to California and get your puberty blockers and mutilate your kid, essentially. The thing he didn't mention, which he should have, is the disposition of the state of California when it comes to parents who are not on board for whatever is happening in the school with their children and who then are under threat of having their children taken away from them by the state if they don't support puberty blockers and gender reassignment surgery and so forth. They don't you don't use the proper pronouns and the fictional name.
Newsom was so good at, bobbing and weaving every question that was asked, because they started asking him, about the people can come, and DeSantis listed off, people can come from different states, Florida, South Dakota, wherever, and come to California to get puberty blockers and to get transition surgery. And Newsom, he didn't answer the question at all. And it was, and then they went to commercial.
Yeah,
it was
but
so
I mean,
frustrating. He squirmed his way out of everything. He took control of the debate. He said Ron about 1,000 times, like no Ron and Sean. And then he even once threw to a commercial break.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he controlled the debate at all. And I don't think he squirmed out of anything.
He didn't answer a lot of questions.
Well, that's not squirming out of it. That's retreating. I mean, it depends on the sophistication of the viewer, I suppose. But for example, when Sean Hannity presents the census data on outmigration, and then Gavin Newsom's response is, for the last 2 years, more Floridians have gone to California than Californians to Florida, and that's just factually incorrect, in addition to what we already know and the world already knows about outmigration from states like Illinois and California and New York that lost congressional districts after the 2020 census. I mean, so if you buy that, well, then you're just leftist automaton. You cannot be reached. But you're talking about how people that actually have a few marbles rolling around upstairs receive this discussion. And I thought DeSantis was in his element, generally speaking, because he's very evidence rich in his responses and very direct in his description of what's happening. And I mean, I thought on the exchanges on the merits, he won every single one of them, because exactly what you're describing, how you're describing Newsom behaved, along with that, maniacal penchant for smiling and giggling. I was waiting for, the Huey Lewis soliloquy with the chainsaw about halfway through the debate.
Well, I mean, I walked away from that and I thought, wow, he is smooth as silk, but full of lies.
Again, all this is like a perception. When you say somebody lies with facility, that we call them smooth. I don't think that's smooth. I think it was obviously unsmooth. I think it was anything but smooth, because the responses that he provided to try to move around the substance of the matter are not persuasive. So if you're not persuasive, then by definition, you're not smooth. He wants to be Harold Hill, but he isn't. And so all of this talk about, oh, God, what a threat he poses, and this is who we really want because he's a fast talker, and because, again, in comparison to Biden or Kamala Harris, yeah, I mean,
he looks like a genius.
Well, right. But I mean,
because he can get a message across, even though he's spewing out lies. But
he's
in tall, he's got the bright teeth. He's like a born politician.
But in comparison to DeSantis on the merits, he's not. And this whole born politician, that's not a compliment.
Well,
that's a pejorative. He's oleaginous and he smiles and he lies. He's a born politician. Is that supposed to be a compliment?
That's what he is.
On the whole parental authority thing, because this folds in a lot of what's going on, including what we talked a little bit about earlier, which is Bob Iger's interview from another obnoxious twit named Aaron Ross Sorkin from the New York Times, and he was asked about Walt Disney's content. What's going on with Disney's content? Because a lot of it is falling flat. The blockbusters are bombing. People are boycotting. That probably will increase after the exchange with Musk.
Darn right it will.
Yesterday. So here's Iger on Disney's content and, basically this idea that they're pushing an agenda rather than trying to provide entertainment to families that is consistent with middle income values in this country.
Our primary objective in creating content as a company, say for ABC News, which is obviously to inform, but is to entertain. Whether it's sports, whether it's Disney, whether it's Marvel, make things that entertain people. And the good news is there's a marketplace out there that demands entertainment. It's a fantastic business to be in because of that. I think what had happened over a period of time, it was building and building, and maybe it reached a peak of some sort while I was gone, is that creators lost sight of what their number one objective needed to be. Often when we entertain, and we've entertained as a company over the 100 years we've been in business, we have entertained with values and having a positive impact on the world in many different ways. I'd use Black Panther as a great example of that, just in terms of fostering acceptance, or the movie Coco, which Pixar did about the Day of the Dead. I like being able to do that. Entertain, and if you can infuse it with positive messages and have a good impact on the world.
Yeah, then do it. Is that what Disney's been doing? I mean, he's trying to slowly pivot away from what he inherited. But let's just remember what he inherited and where the zeitgeist is within Disney, as frankly exemplified by the litigation and the public fight with DeSantis, which he also addressed in that interview. But remember Carrie Burke, who's the Disney Corp president, from March of last year, what she was saying about Disney's attitude towards content creation?
I'm here as a mother of two queer children, actually, one transgender child and one pansexual child, and also as a leader. And that was the thing that really got me, because I have heard so much from so many of my colleagues over the course of the last couple of weeks, in open forums and through emails and phone conversations. And I feel a responsibility to speak, not just for myself, but for them, to all of us. We had an open forum last week at 20th where, again, the home of really incredible, groundbreaking LGBTQIA stories over the years, where one of our execs stood up and said, we only have a handful of queer leads in our content. And I went, what? That can't be true. And I realized, it actually is true. We have many, many, many LGBTQIA characters in our stories, and yet we don't have enough leads and narratives in which gay characters just get to be characters and not have to be about. Right. So she wants half the characters and leads to be LGBTQ2S+++++.
Yeah, because of her children.
That's the attitude. She has a pansexual kid. I'd love to explore that. Mm-hmm. So that's what's actually going on inside Disney, and thus they're trying to serve two masters. Bob Iger's trying to make sure the business stays profitable, but he's subject to the Carrie Burks and all of the other cultural Marxists within the company that want him and compel him to boycott advertising on Twitter and produce content that is not marketable to families, to a lot of middle income, commonsensical families in America and so forth. That's what's actually happening. Andy in Dallas, Texas.
I have to say I was really disappointed in that debate last night. I thought it was pretty boring. I wish DeSantis would be serious and not smile when Newsom is lying. I don't know how you debate a guy who, when you read him statistics, then says no up is down. I think DeSantis probably did as well as he could. The thing is, the really unserious party in this are the people of this country. I'm in Chicago for the weekend, being at one of our vaunted city clubs, major civic organization. I'm in the grill room last night watching this on my laptop. No one in this place is watching the debate. TVs are on the Cowboy game and the West Virginia women's basketball game. You're the only guy in this place paying attention to, I know DeSantis isn't going to be the candidate, but Newsom may be. And no, people were completely clueless.
Thanks for the call, Andy. Monica Lyle.
Hi, guys. I was watching the debate on Rumble last night talk about Mystery Science Theater with politics. I was watching Steven Crowder's show about it. And I would say the only thing that I took away from it is, one, the previous caller said exactly what I was thinking, but two, the debate should have been commercial-free. I think that would have been a better venue. And as far as Bob Iger and the leadership at Disney is concerned, well, if you're in a little bubble and all you deal with is LGBTQ people day in and day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and your population is 95% straight with 5% gay, let's just use those numbers, people are not going to watch gay characters. Maybe their supporters will, but that's it. Of course things are going to flop because parents don't want their kids going to see those movies. There you go.
Thanks for the call, Monica. Well, especially when it's force-fed. I mean, and it's a ideological point they're trying to make, and that's why that exchange between DeSantis and Newsom is important, because it radiates out from there. I mean, this is what's happening in the country. I know people are interested in maybe talking about other things, but I don't know if you have school-age kids. I don't know what's more important. Moms for Liberty posted pictures of hate mail they received from Jane Addams Middle School in Seattle. A middle school in Seattle yesterday. Moms for Liberty, which, again, commonsensical, opposes things like force-feeding 3-year-olds content like genderqueer and third graders. There was a card writing campaign, hand-drawn cards, say gay, gay is slay, stop being a rat, stop bullying and excluding LGBT youth. They posted them online. Oh my God. So a Seattle public school teacher spent classroom time having the middle schoolers write these cards with the approved slogans. Ann Christensen, social studies teacher and coordinator for the Gay Straight Alliance at the middle school. And there's a Gay Straight Alliance at middle school? Of course there is, just about every one. This is what they spend their time doing. This isn't indoctrination, though. No, of course not.
Not at all. No. We didn't have that when we were growing up, did we? No.
And just on a postscript on Disney, I saw this circling about. I thought it was a nice juxtaposition. Disney, you may know, is named after Walt Disney. That's the eponymous founder of the company. This is Walt Disney testifying before the House Un-American Activities Committee here in 1947. Testifying about union activity at his studios that was communist influenced, as well as specific individuals he had come to believe inside his company and the union that represented the employees of his company that were communists. Listen to Walt Disney's perspective on America and American values effectively as compared to what you see today from the likes of Bob Iger and the underlings of his at Disney.
Well, I didn't pull my punches on how I felt. And he evidently heard that I had called them all a bunch of communists, and I believe they are. And at a meeting, he leaned over and he said, that you think I'm a communist, don't you? And I told him that all I knew was what I'd heard and what I'd seen. And he laughed and said, well, I used their money to finance my strike of 1937. And he said that he got the money through a personal check of some actor, and I don't know who that. He didn't even name the actor. I didn't go into it any further. I just listened.
Can you name any other individuals that were active at the time?
I don't believe it's a political party. I believe it's an un-American thing. And the thing that I resent the most is that they are able to get into these unions and take them over and represent to the world that a group of people that are in my plant that I know are good 100% Americans are trapped by this group, and they're represented to the world as supporting all of those ideologies, and it's not so. And I feel that they really ought to be smoked out and shown up for what they are, so that all the good free causes in this country, all the liberalisms that really are American, can go out without this taint of communism. And that's my sincere feelings on it.
I wonder what Walt Disney would think about the leadership of his company these days. Boy, and I wonder what Walt Disney would think about the leadership of the Chicago Teachers Union, for that matter.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer,
we'll talk a little bit more about the DeSantis and Newsom debate in the context of the actual race between Trump and Biden with Gerard Baker from the Wall Street Journal at 8:08.
And Senator Rand Paul saved a life yesterday at a luncheon. We'll explain. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Landing the tuna, heard during the Ed Burke trial. The Bulls snap a losing streak with a win over the Bucks. And WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
Gaza is a war zone again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. After a week-long ceasefire ended.
Just about an hour ago, we had 2 Hamas rockets coming from the Gaza Strip, hitting overhead this town. Luckily, the Iron Dome defenses of Israel knocked them out of the sky.
Fox's Greg Palcott near the Gaza border.
We've been seeing Israeli airstrikes here in northern Gaza, Israeli artillery. Perhaps most significant, we've been hearing a lot of automatic gunfire.
As talks continue in Qatar, trying to put a ceasefire back in place. Now, Israeli government spokesman Eylon Levy says of the 110 hostages set free,
Hamas drugged our children and branded them like cattle with bones from motorcycle exhaust pipes in order to identify them in case they tried to escape.
Now, Israel says Hamas is still holding 137 hostages. George Santos may soon be the 6th congressman ever kicked out of the House. He just told Fox it appears there are enough votes today.
So I'll be the first person to get expelled from Congress without a conviction or without committing treason. And it sets dangerous new precedent for the future.
The Republican who lied to New York voters about his past has been indicted for campaign finance fraud. And a House ethics probe found Santos spent money on himself, but he says he can't publicly respond to that.
To incriminate myself, to hurt my chances on my criminal case.
They sparred over COVID and crime, immigration and education. 2 governors in a red state, blue state debate on Fox.
He thinks Biden and Harris have done a great job. He thinks the economy is working because of their policies for Americans, and they are not. And so what California represents is the Biden-Harris agenda on steroids.
That's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's running for president, going toe-to-toe with California Governor Gavin Newsom on Fox's Hannity last night.
I will take Joe Biden at 100 versus Ron DeSantis any day of the week at any age.
America's listening to Fox News.
42 degrees and heavy rain showers at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Firefighters in Cicero battle an extra alarm blaze early this morning in an apartment building in the 5900 block of West 16th. It's unknown right now how many have been hurt or displaced. Prosecutors continue to play secretly recorded tapes during the federal trial against longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. Yesterday, Burke was heard by jurors discussing landing the tuna.
Got some good news. I talked to Skydell today.
So did we land the tuna?
The tuna comment is a reference to tax and other business Burke was trying to get from Skydell, developers of the massive old post office complex. The father of the 6-year-old Muslim boy stabbed to death in October in Plainfield Township is suing his son's suspected killer. A lawsuit filed in Will County against Joseph Chuba, his wife, and their property management company. Man is facing charges in a deadly hit-and-run crash that happened in August in Kankakee County. Burton Lawton was riding a motorcycle in late August when he was hit by another vehicle near Momence. Investigators have now identified the offending vehicle's driver as Jorge Campos. He was arrested Wednesday and is being held at the Kankakee County Jail. Chicago sports. The Bulls snap a lengthy losing skid with a convincing 120-113 win over the Bucks here in Chicago. Blackhawks lost to the Red Wings 5-1. College hoops tonight. Not sure if you can get a ticket. Northwestern will try to topple the top-ranked team in college hoops when they host Purdue at Welsh Ryan. It's 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Tesla shares are lower after a milestone for its Cybertrucks, which were delivered to their first customers yesterday. Pfizer stock falling more than 3% after a setback in its push to grab a slice of the booming weight loss drug market, currently worth about $10 billion. Pfizer saying it will not move to phase 3 trial of a weight loss drug as a twice-daily version after some patients had trouble tolerating it in a clinical study. It does still plan to release the phase 2 trial data on a once-a-day version of the drug in the first half of next year. And some rival entertainment giants are trying to team up, according to the Wall Street Journal, citing sources. Apple and Paramount Global have discussed bundling their streaming services at a discount. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
8:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been around a long time. Every one of us, as we age, realizes that things are changing in our bodies, in the world around us. Lots of times I don't like what's happening, so what can I do about it? Well, the one thing we can do is pray, right? The other thing we can do is take better care of ourselves. I do that by taking Balance of Nature, because I'm not really good at nutrition. I'm too busy, I'm on the run, and I don't eat enough vegetables, and I certainly don't eat enough fruit. And when I take Balance of Nature, I can feel good that I've done something for myself that I can actually control. So take control. Get Balance of Nature.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-2468-751 and get this special offer by using discount code KLG.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Paid actor portrayal.
Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. In 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected.
Ethos fast and easy online term life insurance up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-950-0099. 800-950-0099. That's 800-950-0099.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We're tracking delays on the Edens right now. It is 40 minutes from Lake Cook Road to the junction, the Kennedy at 75 into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson jammed inbound between Harlem and Kedzie. Right now it's 41 in from the tri-state. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A cooler day ahead. Rain, maybe some wet snowflakes, and a high of 41. 42 right now. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Our next guest had an interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal with an imaginary conversation between Fleece Vest Republican and MAGA Hat Republican. Essentially a discussion about Trump versus someone other than Trump. We'll let him present sort of the divided Republican mind, if you will, and perfect timing against the backdrop of the Newsom-DeSantis debate from last night we were discussing. Gerard Baker is editor-at-large for Wall Street Journal, author of American Breakdown, Why We No Longer Trust Our Leaders and Institutions and How We Can Rebuild Confidence. Gerard Baker, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Dan. Amy, lovely to be with you.
So I read from your piece that you were agreeing with both some of the points that Fleece Vest Republican, I think Mitt Romney, was making, as well as MAGA Hat Republican making, and you just sort of left the discussion up for your readers to decide on which side of the divide they fall. What about after last night's performance from DeSantis? Does that move you in one direction or the other?
No, not really. I mean, look, I think DeSantis clearly had the better of Gavin Newsom. I mean, it's not that difficult. I mean, the issues are really very much on DeSantis' side, especially on issues like tax and when Newsom says things that are just sort of palpably false, like more Floridians moving to California, Californians moving to Florida, then I think I think it was clear that DeSantis has the better argument. I just think the problem for DeSantis within the Republican Party is that he doesn't make that case as convincingly as Donald Trump does. I mean, this is. Thank you very much for referring to my column. I mean, this was a sort of just like as you said, a sort of an imaginary conversation between a kind of a never Trumper and a Trumper, really, which is the sort of dividing line in the Republican Party. And as far as the Trump argument goes, is there anybody who is better at making the case that we need to take our country back from these progressive elites, by people like Gavin Newsom, than Donald Trump? I don't think there is. And to be clear, as I made clear in the column, there are lots and lots and lots of reasons not to vote for Donald Trump, but all to do with his character and all to do with his behavior, particularly after the last election. But again, if you think that we face an existential challenge from these people who basically control control almost all elements of our society, then is anyone better capable of bringing together voters from across the spectrum to vote to get to against those elites than Donald Trump? I don't think there is, and I don't think Ron DeSantis does it.
Well, the other thing about that, too, this sort of fictional discussion, which is a real one, I mean, representative of a real one that's happening, a debate, is, for the somebody other than Trump, the establishment types, if you will, are all over the place. So it's not like you have they're settling and they're sticking with Ron DeSantis. Now you see migration to Nikki Haley because DeSantis doesn't seem to be gaining traction. I don't really see this as much of a performance-based migration from DeSantis to Haley, actually. I don't think there's been a big moment that said, oh, well, now it's obviously Nikki Haley and not Ron DeSantis. DeSantis has had a couple missteps, but so has Haley, including recently talking about censorship online by way of forcing people out of any anonymity. That's unpopular. So that lack of a place to land also speaks to the Trump voters' position of, look, you guys are just like, don't like Trump because of his personality, because of this. You can't present any evidence that he is any worse positioned against Biden than these other candidates. And you can't even settle on somebody. You know, it's DeSantis, it's Nikki Haley, it's talking about maybe Glenn Youngkin, trying to get him in the race. So you're not doing anything out of principle. And so you're not doing anything that represents my interests. You're just doing something that represents sort of the interests of always inside the Beltway. And people are rightly suspicious of that.
No, I think that's exactly right, Dan. I mean, Haley has clearly moved up in the polls on the back of some very strong debate performances. I think she has done well, and she's got a very direct manner, which has performed well, and she's taken on DeSantis to some extent. She's taken on Vivek Ramaswamy, and she's impressed. But I think you're right. I mean, I think the problem with Haley, and I think that's why she's moved up, particularly against DeSantis. And DeSantis is always as just disappointed. I don't just mean in the debates, but just DeSantis can't. DeSantis' problem is he's just trying to be sort of like a kind of a sort of a more acceptable version of Donald Trump, right? I mean, and well, for Trump supporters, that's like, well, I don't need a more acceptable version of Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump. And for those who don't really want Donald Trump, then they're thinking, well, I don't really want an acceptable version of Donald Trump because I don't like Donald Trump. So I think DeSantis has sort of has declined for those reasons. Look, the problem with Haley is, what is it? And this worries me about her. As impressive as she's been, what does she really stand for? I mean, I think she's the position she's carved out for herself over the last few months is like a return to the Republican Party pre-Donald Trump, right? The sort of the Mitt Romney, John McCain, if you like, even George W. Bush Republican Party, which the Republican voters have rejected. And again, while I am not, as you well know, Dan, we've had this conversation many times, I'm not a Donald Trump fan. If you want to really shake up the system, if you really are tired with the way the country has been run, if you're tired with both parties, with the establishment, the failure of Republicans in particular to really take on these progressive elites, why would you vote for Nikki Haley, who looks like she's sort of campaigning to be, taking the party back to where it was before, taking Republicans back to where it was before? So I think, this is why I'm not surprised that Donald Trump continues to have a 50-point lead in the opinion polls in the Republican primary.
Well, Mr. Baker, don't you think one problem with DeSantis is that he just doesn't look comfortable up there? He's not embracing the position, I think, that he's in, and he just looks nervous, and then he makes these weird facial expressions and twitches. I mean, do you think that could be a part of it too?
Yeah, he does come across. You're absolutely right, Amy, as sort of awkward, right? I mean, and this has been true throughout the debates. We'll never forget that first debate. I think it was where he kind of did that weird smile where he was sort of caught, like someone had told him, this is how you smile, rather than just like a natural smile. And I think there were a couple of moments like that last night. Yeah, he doesn't look. He's not again, Trump's great strengths are that there's a strange quality to Donald Trump, which is that although he says a lot of stuff that's nonsense, although he says a lot of stuff that isn't true, although he, frankly, let's be honest, he lies through his teeth half the time, there is an honesty about him, which is that this is the man, this is the guy. You get what you see. You see what you get with Donald Trump. He is. He doesn't. There's no artifice. There's no, attempt to sort of tell people what they want to hear. He's straight. He does tell people what he thinks, how he feels, and a lot of people identify with that. DeSantis is just always this sense. This is a man, degrees from Harvard and Yale, a period in Congress. This is a man who looks like he's got a sort of a kind of a schooled quality to him. It's like everything he's been told about politics, he has to have learned, and I don't think that comes across as authentic. I was amused to see that Merriam-Webster say that the word of the year this year is authentic. DeSantis just doesn't come across as a very authentic character, whereas in his strange way, Donald Trump does.
Yeah, and the other thing, I mean, associated with that is, again, lived experience. People actually saw him perform for 4 years, a good, bad, and the ugly. Is that, he did act in furtherance of what he said he would do, whether he was always successful or not. He attempted or accomplished what he said he was going to attempt.
Right, he did. Yeah, exactly. And I think, look, and again, I do think, despite his sort of slightly weird kind of verbal tics and visual tics, I do think DeSantis did get the better of Newsom last night, again, because I think the arguments are just so powerfully in his favor. But again, yeah, it's not. It doesn't come across as enormously authentic. Whereas I think that is what Trump does. Trump just people identify with Trump because he says things from instinctively, from the heart that people actually agree with. And I think that's it's on the Republican side, and particularly they are tired of these politicians who have promised things and said they're going to do things and have tried to articulate positions that, in the end have come to nothing. And Trump, as you say, sort of, gets things done. And I think that's why I find it very hard to believe he won't get the Republican nomination.
Gerard Baker is editor-at-large, Wall Street Journal. He's the author of the book American Breakdown, Why We No Longer Trust Our Leaders and Institutions and How We Can Rebuild Confidence. American Breakdown from Gerard Baker. Gerard, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you both. Very nice to see you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
It's hard to believe, but 2024 will be here soon. Before you get caught up in all the busy holiday season shopping and whatnot, ask yourself, what are you doing now to put your retirement in a better position for the future? Sean Thompson here for my friend Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. Tom has prepared a 2023 year-end planning report. This report will show you ways to reduce your tax burden on your retirement savings, income strategies that don't depend on a volatile market, and ideas on how to protect and pass down assets to your loved ones. Tom has been helping build financial plans for retirements for over 2 decades, and he's sharing his knowledge and experience in this report. Call Tom today at 630-934-1855 and ask for the 2023 year-end planning report. That's 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour right here on AM 560 The Answer, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Oh, yeah. It's that time for the Pajamagram, and here's something for all you guys that haven't gotten your special someone a holiday gift yet. This Christmas, Pajamagram has got your back with a deluxe gift set for her, and it's one and done, if you know what I mean. The gift set includes the Smooth Seduction Satin Nightie, a robe, plus a free satin eye mask, all wrapped in an elegant satin keepsake bag. You heard that right. 4 gifts delivered right to your door, ready to go under the tree. Silky, sensuous, glides over the skin. Designed to make her feel amazing and drive you wild. The Smooth Seduction
Comfortable
Satin
as DeSantis pulling that genderqueer page out yesterday during the debate.
The Smooth Seduction Satin Gift, Dan, is your ticket to a very nice winter season. Don't wait. Get it before it sells out. Go to pajamagram.com today and get the Smooth Seduction Satin Nightie robe, eye mask, and keepsake bag. That's the Smooth Seduction Satin gift set at pajamagram.com. And guess what? Tell them Dan and Amy sent you. Oh, yeah.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. They're a bank with roots right here in Chicago, and their decisions are made locally too. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Mick O'Rourke, President and CEO of Signature Bank. We'd like to wish you happy holidays from our Signature Bank family to your family.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. You have a true partnership with a team that is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Kevin Bastuga, co-founder of Signature Bank. There's no better place to be for the holidays than Chicago. Signature Bank is wishing you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Cold floors?
The problem is probably down below in the basement or crawl space. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer with Permaseal. I'm happy to say that we can now help make your basement and crawl space warmer and therefore your upstairs more comfortable with our new product, PermaFoam. We spray this insulating foam between your floor joists, which will not only increase your energy efficiency, but will also deter insects, rodents, and is mold and mildew resistant. PermaFoam can be installed in just one day and is twice as effective as the old-fashioned fiberglass bats. For over 40 years, homeowners in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana have trusted Permaseal to make their homes healthier and more valuable. Call a contractor you can rely on. Permaseal. 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
Would you go to court without a lawyer when the other guy is lawyered up? Or are you going to go it alone and learn law and procedure as you go? When you have an insurance claim for your home or business, it's the same thing.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company.
Insurance companies will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them. Not you.
If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%, and we could do the same for you. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom. Building trust for over 20 years.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv. AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday!
Yes, it's that time of the week, Open Mic Friday, taking your calls with comments, compliments, criticisms, concerns, and general crack pottery. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line, sponsored by turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro, and turnkey.pro founder David Kolsak kicks off another installment of Open Mic Friday. David?
Well, good morning, Dan and Amy. It's great to be with you once again. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Can't believe it's already been a week. Time flies, I guess. Anyway, I want to begin with a question, right? How long have we been under control of the CIA and other three-letter agencies? Just a few years? Is it a few decades? Or is it like a half a century? Eisenhower in 1960, during his retirement speech, it was fascinating to me. He coined the phrase military-industrial complex. It was a really heady speech, and I'm not sure if the American people at the time actually understood him. But in that speech, Eisenhower was very concerned about the Pentagon and the power of the military-industrial complex. Their budgets were, really huge, thanks to the Second World War, and that was the thing that would end democracy, is what he said. Is that what we're seeing now 63 years later? Kennedy then said he was going to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds, and then he was assassinated, maybe coincidental, but certainly worth questioning. And then you've got fast forward to Nixon's presidency, and he publicly questioned the CIA's role in the assassination of JFK, and instead of responding to him, the CIA didn't brief him, but they could have set, and could they have set in motion the Watergate scenario, which put Nixon out of office within a year? I mean, is that a democracy? It seems to me that, at least in those three instances, the government was being run by people who weren't elected, but rather spies who knew better than we do. And going back to Voltaire's quote, if you want to know who controls you, look who you're not allowed to criticize. So I think it's dangerous to say out loud, much less even think about how much control the CIA has over us as a people. But that's why people don't say it, however true it may be. Are they actively in control of our media, our social media? What about all the censorship that went on, direct influence of the government over what was now, what used to be Twitter, that's now X? Of course, we're learning that most of what they suppressed is actually true, and yet they shaped the minds of the people in so many ways. So like Hunter's laptop, vaccine injuries, vaccine deaths, ivermectin efficacy, COVID mortality rates, all these things were hyperbolically blown out of proportion or just completely lies. How many of those things were shaped by our government, and the outright of censorship that was uncovered by Elon Musk at Twitter? Essentially, the government took over the media apparatus and told the American people exactly what they wanted it to hear. And did that work, or did it just awaken people like me? A person had to look really far and wide back then to find a sliver of truth, and yet so many of us found it in spite of the government's efforts to suppress it. Why is that? Could they have overplayed their hand? Did you see Elon Musk answer the question about big companies like Apple pulling their ads from X? He basically
yes.
said,
We
somebody could
talked quite a bit about that,
right?
yes. Mm-hmm.
He said, go after yourself, right? So it's kind of refreshing to hear, but then he called up Bob Iger personally on Disney, which I thought was also interesting. And then all this stuff makes me ask another question. Why would they raid Mar-a-Lago? At first there was, it was fine that Trump had all the documents that he had, but then it wasn't, so they raided him. But why? Could it be that Trump maybe had some documents that tied the government to January 6th? Could he have something on 9/11, the moon landing, JFK's assassination? I mean, I've been hearing rumblings all along, but the point is that information is it being kept from us, right? I know. I know where you stand, Dan. Think about those people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time, though, on January 6th. Is there information in there that would exonerate them? How much of that footage is now dripping out? It looks like the police, along with, some of the inserted agitators from the deep state, whipped the crowd into a frenzy, and then they let them into the Capitol building. What happened to the right for a speedy trial? I've heard that Washington, D.C., the Vatican, and the City of London are all foreign lands embedded in their respective countries. If that's the case, could it be that there are different judicial rules that allow them to incarcerate J6ers indefinitely? Anyway, could it be that they're using January 6th to keep people from rising up? Could that be an example of what happens when people stand up? Wasn't this the first unarmed insurrection in the history of the country? These are all things to think about as the narrative changes every day. I just wonder if people can ever believe anything they say anymore. I think back to my childhood, and I'll end with this. There was a really popular song by The Who called "We Won't Get Fooled Again." It was released in '71, and the lyrics go like this: "I'll tip my hat to a new constitution, take a bow for the new revolution, smile and grin at the change all around, pick up my guitar and play just like yesterday. Then I'll get on my knees and pray we won't get fooled again." So let's just pray we stop being fooled, because, Mark Twain said it best. It's easier to fool people than to convince people that they've been fooled. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for the call, David. Kicking it off. A lot to pour over there. But the whole, just one piece of it towards the end, this idea like, will we believe anything? Well, that's not an option, to believe nothing. As Chesterton famously observed, when people stop believing in God, they don't believe in nothing, they believe in anything. People are going to believe some things. Believing nothing, just cursing the darkness, is not what people do. That's just not how human beings are wired. They're going to ascribe belief to some people and some things. So the question is, who and what? That's the question.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636. Well, you can type in DA if you can't get in, but also remember too, once somebody hangs up, we'll have another open line open, so keep calling.
All right, let's get to some calls. Tom in Blue Island.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, the two previous stories, first the Disney story, and before that the Ireland story. I mean, growing up in Mount Greenwood, I have a multitude of friends that are of Irish descent, and I wonder how much they're aware of what's going on there. And the bigger question is, there seems to be no political reason to allow a bunch of people from other countries that have no interest in assimilation into your country. It seems to me that would be a death knell to a politician, but it seems all they do is double and triple down on it, and it's the same thing that's happening here. These people that are being brought here from South America have no interest in assimilation, or maybe a small percentage of them do, and Americans are just being told, if you question it, you're racist. And it seems the only common denominator can be globalism, some kind of not so covert effort to destroy and you destroy the American family, but more when you're talking about countries like Ireland or Sweden, destroy the homogeneity of their countries. At least in the United States, as Mr. Baker said, we're referred to as a melting pot. What can be the excuse in a country like Ireland or Italy or Hungary letting their populations be overrun by people that aren't from there and have no interest in living with them?
Thanks for the call, Tom. The identitarianism knows no borders. I mean, you heard the compilation we played a couple of days ago of all these Irish politicians and their legislature spending all their time talking to one another about how terrible it is to live under the specter of white privilege in Ireland. That's the real enemy, white privilege and honkies, and diversity is our strength, and we need more diversity for its own sake, and so on and so forth. You heard the same thing from their PM after the mass stabbing attack and the rioting that occurred last weekend.
They were more upset at social media posts than they were at the actual suspect who's been in their country for 23 years and has never gotten a job, has sucked off their government for that long, and he killed 3 people.
That's the allegation, and there's no answer from the government for it other than some sort of generic process answers about how the social welfare programs work. But in terms of the fundamental question, is that appropriate that somebody should come to this country? I don't know if he came legally or illegally. Supposedly he's Algerian descent. I suspect it was illegally, but let's say it was legally. Come here legally, but obviously it takes a while to become a citizen and avail themselves of the social welfare benefits for the entirety of his time there without ever having a job. Is that a proper outcome? Is that a desired outcome? And you don't get an answer. You get the process answer. Here's how the program works. Yeah, these are governments that are at odds with the interests of their citizens, at least the portion of their citizenry that play by the old rules of a free society. Because a free society is not their interest. They've made it pretty clear. I mean, the censorship industrial complex that we've been talking about off and on, there's no clearer indication than that. Election rigging through censorship. There's no clearer indication than that. This is something we have to recognize, something we have to recognize domestically, which sometimes we fail to even recognize internationally. Not everybody is coming from the same perspective as we are. Putin doesn't have our perspective. Islamic terrorist organizations don't have our perspective. We don't all want the same things. Well, that also applies domestically, as we're saying. We don't all want the same things. We don't all want to live in a free society. The left is making that very clear. Bill, Cape Coral, Florida.
Yeah, I just wanted to sing a little Christmas carol to this.
Oh, wonderful.
Chicago style. Dashing down State Street with a Gucci bag in hand, running real fast because behind me comes a man. He was faster than I thought, and soon I did get caught. But an hour later, I was back on State looking for another bag. Jack a car, steal a purse. It's the Chicago way. You don't have to worry because you won't have to pay. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Very good, Bill. I like that. It's pretty good. We're going to have to cut that and so we can use that. Maybe set it to music. All right, so make sure to vault that from Bill in Cape Coral. We've got a month to enjoy that offering. And we'll take more poems and Weird Al Yankovic type parody songs.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Like that.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Once somebody drops the line, another one will open up.
Let's take another call on the Irish. Kevin, Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
This is not Kevin. This is the Prime Minister of Ireland, and I wish to chime in on that uppity high school basketball player who was banned from his team after scoring 35 pints in a game and being all-conference both sophomore and his junior year. Well, I've been speaking and comparing notes with your voluptuous Governor Lizzo of your fine state of Illinois. And I'm going to say that the good Irish people in my government believe this boy should not be allowed to play any hoops. And I'll tell you why. Those suburban round ball patriarchies have a member of the white patriarchy of Chicago basketball, and ergo, he should resign straight away. Maybe he can try the sport of the volleyball with that Amy, the charming lass.
Thank you so much for the call, Prime Minister.
Of Ireland.
Wow. That was pretty good. Not a bad Irish brogue and a good use of ergo. So, all right, it's a little spicy this morning. It's a little.
I loved how he said 35 pints instead of 35 points.
Yeah, it was very good. I like the. This is good. I'm liking an early healthy dose of crack pottery. I do like that. Rich in Indian Head Park for some sobriety.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. What I wanted to say is Newsom is what Democrats are all about. They brag about what the Democrats are doing for the country, especially what Biden has done, and they lie about their opponents and twist around everything that they actually say, and they don't really care about any kind of change, or they just have no answer to any questions that they don't want to answer to. And that's basically what they're made up of. They all have the same narratives, and it goes on and on. You guys have a nice weekend.
Thanks for the call, Rich. Peter in Des Plaines.
Yeah, thank you. So, if I recall, McCormick Place was used for COVID. It cost $30 million, not used. Why weren't the migrants using McCormick Place? You wouldn't have to build these tents.
I've asked that question several times to Governor and Mayor Johnson. They will not do it because other conventions, there was UAA volleyball tournament. They're just not going to do that because the space is being used because people are paying to use it.
Not the old McCormick Place.
Not the old one, but I don't know why they won't move in that one. I don't even know if that one's open.
Well,
they probably don't want honoring the Soldier Field.
Thanks for the call, Peter. Well, you also want to distribute the opportunity to be welcoming to all the wards and many of the neighborhoods. So you don't want downtown to hoard all the migrants, the new arrivals, and the opportunity to celebrate said arrival.
The Johnsonville tent went up yesterday at 38th and in Brighton
38th
Park.
and Cal in Brighton Park. Yeah, of course. That's going to be those
huge.
500
That's
tents.
11-acre property.
500 residents. Those tents. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. It's done.
Yeah, we have to wait for the environmental study to be out. No, it's already done. It's already going up.
Yeah,
there might be zinc in there from a trailway car from years past. Give me a break.
Yeah. Right. Whatever. David Winnetka.
Hey, good morning, guys. So about a year ago, it hit me so hard that I felt Michael Obama would have sometime announced his candidacy. And since then, I've been yelling at the top of my lungs, and everybody thinks I'm absolutely insane. It will never happen. Now that we're here, and things get crazier and crazier and crazier every day. I was just wondering how you guys felt on that stance.
Never going to happen. I've said it from the beginning. I've said it from the end of Joe Obama's terms 1 and 2. It's never going to happen. She didn't want it in 2016. She doesn't want it in 2020. She doesn't want it in 2024. She doesn't want it ever. It's never going to happen. It's the fodder for people who don't understand that couple and the political dynamics. Thanks for the call, David. I know it's fun on social media and stuff. It's fun to talk about. All these conspiracy. I mean, the whole thing with Biden, it's like he's going to win the Iowa caucus. He's going to win the New Hampshire primary. He's going to win South Carolina. And people are going to be like, oh, when does he drop out? Oh, at the convention.
Surprise at the convention, yeah.
I mean, again, barring God's intercession, it is Trump and Biden. I've been saying it, and I don't care what Tucker Carlson says, and I don't care what anybody else says. I've been saying it for months now. It is just a complete misunderstanding of the environment in D.C. and what's at stake for the competing interests. Trump and Biden. That's what it's going to be. Craig in Old Town.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. I'll start, after what you last just said, I'll start and just say I voted for Donald Trump twice, and I'll add that if he's the nominee, I'll likely vote for him again. And I certainly understand the urge or the feeling of loyalty, especially as he's quite clearly getting railroaded across the country in attorney general's offices. That said, he too is of a generation that, I'll be kind and say, due to their nature, not only utterly refuse to cede any power in the public and private sectors, but have a distinct proclivity to linger over the ideological battles of the 60s. Quite frankly, I'm tired of endlessly relitigating what happened in front of 720 South Michigan Avenue in the summer of '68. And this is going to sound a little harsh, but it's time for a certain generation to, if they can spare a thought for any generation to come after them rather than themselves, recognize the importance and the opportunity my generation does have in 2024. And without going through the litany of examples where he's demonstrated his ability to not only handle the daily doldrums of governance, but to lead from the front on our most controversial societal battles. And Ron DeSantis, you do have an opportunity not seen on the Republican side in over 100 years. A young Republican president who, while no man is perfect and there are countless unknowns ahead, has the potential to be a standard bearer and a champion of a cause for the next generations, being those staring down another 30 to 40 to 50 to God knows how many years we'll have to fight this nonsense that they've allowed to seep into every corner of our culture. And the resistance to passing the torch not only stifles the political ascent of younger leaders, but it also alienates those young voters who often merely seek representation that mirrors their generational priorities and experiences. And that includes losing precious moments and unquantifiable amount of memories to the biggest crock of BS ever forced down modern man in COVID. And here's a guy who has the stones and the record to say, I'll never let that happen to you again. Listen, the Republican Party has a chance to further the redefinition of itself, and it is pivotal they recognize their old paradigms are increasingly inadequate to address the complexities we're facing in the future. They need to recognize the signals of this crucial generational transition in 2024.
Thanks for the call, Craig. Very good case that he makes. Very similar to the fleece vest case that Gerard Baker made in his Wall Street Journal column we were just discussing. I mean, I agree with that description of DeSantis. I've been nothing but a fan since he was elected. But the moment is about sending a message to this political ruling class that has attempted to illicitly game the system since Donald Trump's ascendancy as a candidate in 2015 into the 2016 election. And then all that has been uncovered since by proponents of Trump and opponents of Trump like Schellenberger and Taibbi. And the reality is that I think people have a hard time letting that stand and saying the beneficiary of all of that wrongdoing should be someone other than Trump. And I understand that.
And I thought yesterday might have changed my position on him, but it did not at all. Still love him as governor. Love what he did. I know that Gavin Newsom was spoon-feeding lies to the public. I understand that, but there was no there for me.
Well, there's a there with DeSantis. I mean, this is not an empty suit. Newsom is an empty suit. I mean, I don't know what your expectations were, some sort of star power or personality ectomy was going to happen. I mean, that's who DeSantis is. I mean, there are some things that we've talked about. They're minor critiques in terms of style and facial expressions and so forth, the perception of his comfort level. But, I mean, on the substance, on policy, I mean, he is the best in the race, in my view. But that wild card that I just described that Trump has trumps all that. That's the reality. Great question from James in Naples for Amy. James?
Hello, Amy. Just want to know why you're excluding both of us lesbians who listen to the show from your reads on the pajamagrams. Do you think we sleep in burlap or something?
But you are a lesbian, James? Is that right?
I identify as a lesbian.
I understand.
No, every day or just on Fridays?
Mostly on the weekends, yes.
Okay.
All right. Don't dodge the question, Gavin Jacobson. Let's go. What's the answer?
Do we have to throw to a break, Ron and Sean? No, I just got the pajamagram right now. I read it for the first time on the air here, so we'll see. Maybe she can get it for she next time.
Maybe not. Ralph Rantoul.
Hey, good morning. Well, as far as Newsom goes, I have this fantasy about DeSantis just running across the stage and elbowing out his cap teeth, but that's never going to happen. But regarding Biden and Trump, Biden's too corrupt and too owned by both the Chinese and Obama, who's got that big hole in Biden's suit that he inserts his hand and operates Biden. He's too corrupt. He can't go away because he's thinking about all the money he can make in a second term if he's able to steal that one too. And of course, if he gets out of office, there's a chance, as small as it might be, that his corruption is exposed and they pay the price for it. What I find interesting over the years is that all these nutter conspiracies that people talk about, you're a nutter, man-made virus, COVID came from bat soup, it's not the Wuhan Fauci weapon. All that stuff ends up, isn't that funny, being true. So all I have to say to all you stupid Chicago voters who keep putting morons in charge that lie to you and put illegal immigrant encampments up is eat the bugs, and Soylent Green is people.
Thanks for the call, Ralph.
A lot of conspiracies.
Yeah, I mean, just a point of order on the conspiracies. I mean, what Ralph said is fair, but because some things that were treated as conspiracy theories that were never really presented as conspiracy theories, there was a lot of reason and evidence to raise these questions. But because some things that were dismissed as conspiracy theories turned out to be true, doesn't make all conspiracy theories true. Let's just understand that point of order. Okay. Amy in Winthrop Harbor.
Hello, Dan and Amy. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
We're
Good.
Great. How are you?
Good, good. I just wanted to say a couple of quick things. Highland Park is not Highland Park strong.
Okay.
They need a new mayor.
Yes. Nancy Deering is not. Is that who you're talking about? She needs to be replaced.
That's who I'm talking about. Yes, she does.
Nancy. No, what's her name? Nancy.
Rotary.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I believe so. Towards the beginning of winter here, after summer, there was on the viaduct there, Skokie Valley Road and 41. There were illegal aliens on the viaduct there setting up camp. They're gone now.
Okay.
Okay, just to let you know. And they make up these signs, Highland Park strong.
Maybe they're living with Nancy Rotering.
Probably.
Maybe she took them in.
That's cute, Dan. And okay, one more thing from yesterday. Alan Dershowitz.
Yes.
Why does he like Biden?
I don't know. We
I don't
tried
think
to walk him through it, but
I don't know that he. Thanks for the call, Amy. He didn't really say he likes Biden. He just.
Well,
I
voting
think.
For him.
I know, but you can vote for people that you don't like. I think it was more a good example of, the inertia of identifying with the party for as long as he has. I mean, Dershowitz has been liberal and a Democrat for 60 years plus. So, and he sort of gave them, I'm for a women's right to choose, and I'm for this, and I'm for that. I mean, there's sort of things that were almost, as smart as he is, an attempt to rationalize a case that he can't really make out on the merits. He's sort of arguing in the alternative, as any good lawyer can do. But I don't even know if he finds his case in terms of supporting Biden compelling. But I think he's not ready to publicly announce that he would vote for Trump in that dynamic, if the dynamic was, as I suggested, will be Trump versus Biden. And I think, frankly, there's some utility for Dershowitz in the way that he markets his viewpoints on, for example, the Trump indictments and some of what happened in response to January 6th, that this is the censorship stuff, that this is, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm voting for Biden. I'm not a Trump supporter. I voted for Hillary Clinton, but this is what is right and proper under the Constitution. I think that positioning of Dershowitz gives him some credibility that he might not otherwise have if he had decided that he was going to flip and be a Republican or a Trump supporter.
Well, he said Nikki Haley's name 2 times. He seemed to, like her, and that Israel would be safe if she was in charge.
Yeah, but that's a lot of positioning from Dershowitz too, because Nikki Haley doesn't draw the venom that Donald Trump does. So, I'm independent, I'm open-minded, I'm not lockstep with the Democrats. So, look, Nikki Haley. But if you said, look, Donald Trump, the reaction would be a lot different. Dershowitz is very shrewd, politically, too. Keep that in mind. Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. Hey, being it's the holiday season, I came up with a little Christmas parody song. Elvis Presley did one. Here comes. Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys are being for it. You'll be singing this around the spinet from Christmas party time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not dirty. It might be disturbed, but it's not dirty. You guys want to hear it? It's got 2 verses.
Oh boy.
It's called.
Time? Yeah,
well, Elvis Presley did a song called "Here Comes Santa Claus." Mine is got a little twist on it. It's called "I'm Killing Santa Claus."
Oh, that is nice. That's very holiday friendly. Okay, go ahead.
All right, here it goes. I'm killing Santa Claus. I'm killing Santa Claus. Killing him tonight. Plunging a knife right in his neck and twisting to the right. They'll be yelling. They'll be screaming. Blood. It's a horrible sight. I'm still killing that SOB. Gonna kill Santa Claus tonight. I'm killing Santa Claus. I'm killing Santa Claus. Busting open his head. One good shot from a baseball bat will make him very dead. Broken nose, a shattered jaw, swinging with all of my might. He might come just once a year, but Santa goes down tonight. And then you go a little musical.
Rick,
you go into instrumental.
Rick, what happened to you as a child? What? What?
Did Santa not give you what you wanted, Rick?
Yeah, there's something. Are you on any lists in Downers Grove, or should you be, by chance?
No. I just have too much time on my hands here at work.
All right, Rick. Go think happy thoughts, okay?
Okay, have a good one.
Thanks for the call.
I don't know. Should we be concerned?
A little bit. I think we know why Rick from Downers Grove is single. Yeah. Mary Kay, Western Springs.
Hello. I'm working on a haiku. I hope I get to read that on
boy.
One of these days. I'm not that great of a poet. I'm not like your poet laureate, but boy, was that one that he did the other day outstanding, and I'm glad you posted that, and I was able to find it.
And your haiku does fit the 575?
Yeah, but I'm still working on it. It's not as good.
Oh, you're still working on it.
Not ready for the air.
She's not ready. Don't rush the talent.
Oh,
Dan,
I'm sorry.
okay?
Yes,
No.
take your time.
I'm not that talented. I went to River Forest School. So
I respect the creative process. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. I'm calling because back in the old days, when you started a job, you were able to, on your W-2, choose whether or not to give the government more money and look forward to a bigger refund, or keep your money as you go along working. And some people kind of use that, as a savings account, take a vacation when you get your refund back in April. I'm not in favor of giving the government any money, but when you don't escrow your taxes, you're in charge of your money. And then when you can't control what goes on with the economy, there's millions of people who will run out of money, have things happen. And as much as, again, you were mentioning how you would never escrow, Dan. We escrow now because there's just too much unknowns, and with other expenses and stuff, it just is a sure thing that you're going to have the money around to pay these ridiculous taxes, and God knows what they're going to be. My assessed value went up $260,000.
And what does that translate to in your property tax hike?
I think, I don't have the bill in front of me because it makes me want to vomit, so I can't tell you. I think it's 14, went to about 18.
Mm-hmm. That's significant. That's you know.
Right.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if I'm going to have a good weekend. I have to hide that thing because I can't. It's on the kitchen table. I got to go hide it somewhere.
Well, there you go. Thanks for the call,
All right.
Mary Kay. Yes. Right. If you ignore it, it goes away. No, I'm not saying that she's doing that, but we talked so much about property taxes earlier in the show because of this ABC7 report on what happened in unincorporated Rich Township, Tinley Park portion of unincorporated Rich, and the property tax assessment increases that are driving people out of their homes, just the latest iteration of that story. Let's finish up with Chuck and Delavan.
Amy, thanks for mentioning my garage band Poop Map. Holy smokes, where do I start? Shout out to Phil and Reggie and Lee and Diane who came to the bottle shop last week, 5:30 to 7:30. We'll be there again tonight, me and Mr. and Mrs. Claus. And then big day tomorrow in Lake Geneva, the Como Clubhouse tomorrow morning, pancake breakfast with Santa. And I got a brand new Mrs. Claus coming because my girlfriend's got to work. And then tomorrow night, go see the Lake Geneva Christmas parade with the fake beard Santa because they don't want to hire me. So everybody enjoy the weekend and get out there and do something.
Thanks for the call.
That's
Tis
right.
the season for Chuck, who is a
Santa.
perennial Santa, yes.
By the way, Senator Rand Paul saved Senator Joni Ernst. She was choking on some ribeye at a Senate luncheon yesterday, and he leaned over and gave her the Heimlich maneuver.
Is there a doctor in the house? Yes, there is.
Yes, there is. All right, thanks so much for making us part of your morning, part of your lives. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. Have a great weekend. Now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
The Illinois Supreme Court rules FOID cards can't be obtained through the Freedom of Information Act.
This is a Fox News alert. A former Supreme Court justice has died. I'm Dave Anthony. Sandra Day O'Connor was 93. She'd suffered complications related to advanced dementia and a respiratory illness. Chief Justice Roberts, in a statement, called her a daughter of the American Southwest and that Sandra Day O'Connor blazed an historic trail as our nation's first female justice. She was appointed to the court by President Reagan in 1981. She retired in 2006. George Santos could soon be an ex-congressman.
I believe that if it's God's will to keep me here, I will stay, and if it is his will for me to leave, I will leave, and I will do so graciously.
But Santos tells Fox ahead of a vote this hour it would set a bad precedent. All 5 others expelled from the House in the past were either Confederates or convicts. New York Republican has been indicted of campaign finance fraud for lying about his past, and Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman says Santos has got to go.
George Santos's lies were designed to defraud and deceive the voters in order for him to be elected.
The war is back on in Gaza after a week-long ceasefire, as Israel says Hamas is still holding 137 people hostage, and it has evidence Hamas murdered 3 Israeli hostages. And government spokesman Elan Levy says the children Hamas set free had been drugged and branded in captivity.
Hamas treated our people worse than animals, and we will put Hamas down.
Montana's TikTok ban, it was set to go into effect next year, has been blocked by a federal judge who has ruled it infringes on users' rights.
Republicans, Democrats, and other Western governments have questioned China-controlled TikTok's content moderation, data security, and past spying, as more than half of U.S. states and the federal government have also banned TikTok on official devices.
That's Jeff Manasso. America's listening to Fox News.
41 degrees in Chicago. This morning, it is cloudy and rain showers at 9:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Firefighters in Cicero battling an extra alarm blaze early this morning. Fire broke out in the 5900 block of West 16th. It's unknown how many people have been displaced or if anyone got hurt. Prosecutors continue to play secret recorded tapes during the federal trial against former longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. Yesterday, Burke was heard by jurors discussing landing the tuna in reference to tax and other business Burke was trying to get from Skydale, developers of the massive old post office complex. Burke made it clear he wasn't going to pull any strings until they agreed to be clients.
I'm not very
fine with the way they conduct themselves up until this point, and as far as I'm concerned, they can go themselves.
Burke never landed the business and also in court before